we'll open the July the 21st meeting. We'll start off with the Pledge of Allegiance, and then I'll have the prayer, and then we'll have the roll call. Let's stand. Peace prayer from St. Francis. Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. Where there is sadness, joy. O divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive, it is in pardoning that we are pardoned, and it is in dying that we are born to eternal life. Amen. Amen. All right, let me read the public comments.
Roll call.
Oh, roll call. Go ahead.
Commissioner Brinson?
Here.
Commissioner Wilson? Here. Mayor Johnson?
Here.
Commissioner Firstner?
Here.
Commissioner Oliver?
Here.
Is this on over there?
Yes.
It is, but it's not on here.
Correct.
Okay. All right.
Here.
All right. To the people in the Lakeshore Center, we're glad you're there. If we're going to try to run this thing where everybody can get through the thing that is what we laid out. I'm going to read this public comment announcement. All interested parties are invited to be heard during the public comment portion of this meeting. City Hall is open to the public. However, due to social distancing guidelines, attendance inside the City Commissioner chambers will be limited to the City Commissioners and City staff. Members of the public wishing to participate in this meeting will be seated in the Lakeshore Center and brought over right before they are to speak. Additionally, the public may call or email comments and or questions to 407-554-7118 or citizens@ocoee.org. City staff will be standing by to ensure that your questions, comments come before the City Commission during the meeting. Thank you. All right. First state of the business will be the presentations and proclamations. Presentation by HRDB Chair Crown and Chair-elect Maxwell on the 1920 Memorial Event Program details. All right, now we waiting on them to come over. You'd have asked that before I told them to come over. Well, yeah, I mean, that's. You want to do the consent agenda now?
I was thinking that we had.
While we're waiting? Okay. Everybody consented. Let's
Mayor, I have a comment for that.
Huh?
I have a comment on the consent agenda.
Okay.
Staff would like to pull item number 3, the addendum to the TNXL baseball contract. We're not. There's a couple other things we'd like to address to firm that up before we bring it forth to the commission. And I also want to point out to you on number 7, the Fuel Island upgrade. We did have a bid protest, and there's a copy of it in front of you. What we would recommend you still go ahead and approve that this evening.
All right, so we're pulling number 3, and
Yeah.
we have.
And I just wanted you to be aware that you do have a copy of the bid
Okay.
protest and the
All right.
answer in front of you for,
All right.
for number
Do we
7.
have any more comments on the consent agenda?
I make a motion to approve item number 3, pulling item number 3.
All right, do I hear a second?
I actually have 2 items I want to pull on the consent agenda. Item number 2 and item number 8. Okay.
All right, item number 2 and number 8. All right, let's go ahead and pass everything except 2 and 8, and with number 3 pulled. Item number 2 and you're saying everything except 2 and 8, right? And 3. Okay. Second?
I second it.
Seconded by Commissioner Brinson. Any more comments on those? If not, let's vote.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Commissioner Oliver, item 2 and number 8.
8. Item number 2 deals with the OIC, and basically what it is it's the annual membership for the OIC and that particular advisory board as we look at that and renew the OIC. Before we actually renew the OIC, one of the things I do have an ask about that. We have several students on the OIC that attends Ocoee High School as well as other high schools in the city of Ocoee, West Orange, and they have been participating in actually, if not all of the events, most of the events that they have put forth for the past year or so, and they have participated with a lot of energy, and they have made suggestions as well as their parents have been a part of the activities that have been put forth by the coordinator, Dorcas Dillard. The ask or the question that I have is concerning this particular item is that several of those kids that participate actually don't live in Ocoee. They may live just right outside of Ocoee in Winter Garden, but they go to Ocoee High School. And the ask is that we maybe perhaps consider on a case-by-case basis that we maybe accept a few kids, maybe 1 or 2, that may not live in the city, but also attend the high school, but have they actually have a propensity to participate, and they want to participate, and they have been participating. So that's the ask, that we would maybe look at that on a case-by-case basis. And I think even with the HRDB board, we have at least one member that may not live in the city, but again, that will participate in all the activities. So I don't think that it would, I'm hoping that it won't hurt anything, and that the commission would at least consider having 1 or 2 of those members participate in OIC or be a part of it, fully a part of it, as they have been participating in the past year or so.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
No disrespect, Commissioner, but I think the item is just that right now is to put this one student on the board. I think they would have to rewrite
Yep.
the resolution, because I think this item just says that this one student must be on the board. So this item does not reflect what you want. I think they'll have to come back as a separate, that'll be my thought, separate agenda item to reflect the change is going to take place, like we did with the HRDB board. That change took place later when they added folks who could be outside of city limits. But I think that would, personally, that would have to come back, I think, as a resolution of amendment. Whereas this one is just giving this one student the opportunity to be
Yeah.
on the board.
Yeah, that's exactly where I was going. What you just said, the reason I brought this up is that we may be able to have a consensus to have the staff go back to make that amendment that will allow us to consider a student that has participated but may not live in the city but attends Ocoee High School. So perfect. So thank you for that. Yeah.
If that group brought it back forward to us as to what they want to see, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Can't hear me when I'm asking?
I think we need to, like I said, it has to be
Yeah, I think,
rewritten if we want to do it.
I think
Yeah.
if they want to rewrite it.
And I agree, but what I'm asking for is, what I'm specifically asking for is just a consensus to allow the staff to draft it out and bring it back before us.
I think the board needs to go through that with them also.
Yeah.
It's important for the kids to learn probably that process.
Correct. I agree. Again, and nothing's gonna happen until we tell the staff to do it, and that's what I'm asking.
Well, I'm not in favor of that, so that's what, I don't, consent-wise, I'm not in favor of that. We put it where we did, where it would be the local students that living in the city. We're putting out the money for the taxpayers for that, so that's what I'm going to stand by. But, and then we have to change that. If you want to do it, we got to bring it back and vote on the changing
Correct.
of the ordinance.
So what does the other members state, where do you stand on at least considering that as, I mean, maybe not making a decision tonight, but at least having the staff bring forth a recommendation just based on what I stated earlier. So could we just put it to a vote then? Just
Can't vote on, that's not
consen-
on
a
the agenda.
consensus to ask the staff to bring that back to us?
We can, that's what I'm saying, I said
would
nothing.
prefer to see the students bring something forward to us. I think
Well,
it's
they can
part of the
participate in it, but
education
but
process.
they would have to, at least they have to be told to do it, to do so. Would it be okay? Because they're gonna need staff guidance.
Commissioner, First, what, you want to wait, or
Who is on the board of that?
we don't
Well, tho-
have that list here.
Those are OIC kids as well as the coordinator. You have one coordinator, and then they also work with the clerk's office as they put forth different agenda items on the agenda. So they would have to have direction from us to say, yeah, you can bring that back to us.
No, I don't have any problem with them bringing any kind of recommendations back.
And that's basically what I'm asking for, just a
Well, they will-
recommendation to come back before us.
Back to change the ordinance is what he's asking.
Yes.
Yeah, all right. Then we vote on it.
Okay.
Then we have to vote on it. Yeah,
Yeah, but right now, we just need a consensus.
I have no problem.
then we have, you have to vote on it when it comes back. What, Commissioner Wilson?
I have no problem with, I'd like to see what they bring forward. I would love to see more students from the schools. I think it's the first year.
Yeah, 'cause we
We
got
have
some at
seven-
West Orange that should
We
be
have
on it.
7 students with one more adding on, which is 8. I would love to see them get more kids who live in Ocoee because they have a vested interest in what's happening in their
Yep.
town.
Correct.
Versus if they live in unincorporated or Winter Garden, I would love to see them have a vested
Yep.
interest, sorry, I gotta do this, vested interest in here, in this city, but I'd be willing to entertain something they bring forward. I mean, that's part of the
Absolutely.
learning process,
Absolutely. I agree.
So,
but I'd like to.
Yes.
yeah, all right, staff can write it up, then we have to bring it forward and vote on it.
Yeah, for clarification, Mariah, I think it's a resolution, though it's not an
Yeah.
ordinance.
Yeah,
So if you
We
would work
can do
with the
that.
OIC, as you've been working with them before, this clerk, and see if they can bring forth some type of draft or resolution to see what they come up with. All right.
Okay,
Um,
just to clarify, is this staff doing this or something OIC is going to present to the,
OIC is going to present, but they always work with staff when they do anything. They always work with the clerk's office before they bring anything before the commission.
okay, so I just wait till I get something then.
I'd like to see OYC do a big.
I just don't want it to drop through the cracks and you're asking 2 months from now and I haven't seen anything,
So
so.
I'll make sure it won't drop through the cracks.
I'd like to see the kids do something. I'd like to see what, again, it's all the learning.
Absolutely.
So can we make a motion to approve item 2? Is that okay?
all right,
Item
let's
2.
we're getting behind already, because
Okay,
we got,
well,
all right, that's coming back, bringing it back, then we'll vote on it. No, go number 8, Commissioner.
And actually, item number 8, we can put it back on the agenda. I think that we actually got some resolution on that one earlier today. I was just looking at my notes, and that was about the potholes in Parkside. So I already spoke to Steve about that, and they were looking at working on some of those potholes as opposed to doing a complete asphalt paving for that community. So we
All
can put that back on
All
the
right, but then I
consent
need
agenda.
a motion for 2 and 8.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve item 2 and item 8.
All right, motion made
second,
to approve item 2 and item 8, consent agenda. Here's a second.
second.
Seconded by Commissioner Wilson. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, motion carries. All right, now we're going back to the presentations by HRDB Chair Crown and Chair-elect Maxwell in the 1920 Memorial Event. Program details. Okay? Up there where that, is that where they're going, where, Melody?
Yeah.
Bulletproof.
I know, but
Good evening, everybody. Tonight,
Speak into that mic now, so.
okay. Chair-elect Maxwell and I are here tonight to go over a little bit of things that we have planned for the 100-year memorial ceremony that we've been planning for years through the Human Relations Diversity Board for the city of Ocoee. And so many things have changed
Shut that door.
because of CDC guidelines and where we should have been at this point. If everybody wore their mask, we're not there. So we're not 100% sure what we're going to be able to do or not able to do. So basically, to start with, I'd like to ask that the City Commission give the HRDB exclusive rights for October 31st through November 8th for city property, including this building, the Lakeshore Center, Blueford Road, because we're probably going to have to shut that down for the unveiling on the first Sunday afternoon deal. because if we can't have enough seating by using the CDC guidelines, we're gonna have to spread out, and then we're gonna have to get tents, we're gonna have to get a stage, we're gonna have to get porta potties, sanitation, security, and all that. So not only am I asking for that, I'm asking for a lot of money, because I don't know what it's gonna cost, but I do know that there will be expenses. Originally we're planning on having a Saturday night dinner for all the descendants we could find, because we do not want this to just be the July Perry show, because July Perry was only one of numerous victims. We will never know how many folks lost their lives in this whole massacre. The main reason why is because the KKK took skulls as their souvenirs. It's really hard to count bodies if you don't have skulls. That's the problem. So we've contacted some of the descendants, not all of them. A lot of the subcommittee members have been working on it. Chair-elect Maxwell has met with a lot of folks too, and we'd like to get as many involved as we possibly can with the series of events that we have planned. So the Saturday dinner probably won't happen, but we want to leave that open just in case we can pull it off, but it's based upon CDC guidelines and social distancing. We'll do the Sunday unveiling on either the Wednesday or Thursday, because Election Day is that Tuesday, and you folks also have a commission meeting, so that's going to kind of tie things up. But the Wednesday or Thursday, some of us from the HRDB, mostly me, would like to have a discussion about what all the research that we have done shows for what led up to the massacre, and what happened during the massacre, and what happened after the massacre. And basically my stack of research is about that big, and I've read countless books, spoken to numerous people, talked to many different researchers. So I've basically done a qualitative analysis of ethnographic research regarding this whole event. So I'd like to be able to do that discussion either at the Lakeshore Center, depending upon the capacity of how many people will come to it, on either the Wednesday or Thursday of that week. And then Saturday, we're working on a surprise speaker. We can't mention who it is yet because it's a surprise, but it's hopefully will come to fruition, and that'll be really exciting. Looking forward to that. So we're asking for basically everything that we need to do, everything that we think that the city of Ocoee and the descendants and the current folks that live here and used to live here, that everybody can come and be part of this memorial, because it's been 100 years in the making, and it's time to do it and to do it correctly, and so that everyone gets fair shake on the remembrance. And I'm looking at my notes, and I think that's pretty much what I've got. Does anybody have any questions for my section?
You said October the 31st?
Yep, through November 8th.
All right. And that's with the diversity board, right?
Yes, we want to be able to, if we can be in the center, in the Lakeshore Center, if we're not on the crazy guidelines and everything's not shut down by then, so this way we can do things inside with the AC. Otherwise, we're going to have to go outside, and it's also dependent upon where Parks and Rec decides they're going to put the memorial marker, because I don't know the exact spot where that's going to be as of yet. So that's going to basically tell us where we can do the presentation, because we don't want folks walking, like a half a mile in the heat and not being able to socially distance, and that could be a mess. So the possibility of us being outside under tents with the stage and with seating, and hopefully with fans or portable AC units, not those misters, they don't work very well. And then porta potties and sanitary abilities at the points. This way folks can use something and not feel like they're going to get sick.
Did you give your name and address? I didn't hear it start. Huh? Oh,
No, I didn't.
okay. All right. Happy
Nobody say
birthday,
it.
by the way.
Thank you.
I
Thank
seen
you.
it on Facebook.
My
Happy
last year
birthday.
before.
Good way to spend it, huh? All right, then we can I guess we'll let.
Chair-elect Maxwell take over?
Yeah,
There we go.
I'm trying to think of his name.
That's it. We'll switch. Thank you.
Vice Chairman. Yeah, first minute, you want to come clean that mic? Sorry about that. Well, we'll do that after this. Yeah, I got another This is going to be later. It's later. These, I want to make the comment to, just to make sure everybody's listening over there, because we got a couple here. On the renaming the street will be no vote tonight. We can talk about it, but there'll be no vote tonight because it's not on the agenda, so it'd have to come back. What's our next meeting, August the 4th? So that will be, I've been telling people August the 4th, so that'll be for what that is. All right.
What are they asking for, a vote?
No. It's something else. Hang on just a second. We've got to separate them here. There's other things too. There's only, okay. Now, the ones that are going to deal with the functions in the meeting, we'll put them to the side. That'll be after we do this pertaining to this too. And this is only 2 of them right now, so you can, these 2. And here's, this one's got two things. Now, is this about operation audits? Is that the one you were talking about, Melody?
What is that?
Operation audits.
Are those concerning the consent agenda? Are they coming on the consent agenda?
No, it's for the regular agenda.
I'm not familiar with that.
Consent agenda's already,
No, I thought that they can only make comments if it's concerning consent agenda. If it's
no,
not
not, no, if it's something where they're, issues we can. They get to talk tonight on this. All right, so she took those back, all right. These are things we gotta do in our meeting. Now, the youth council one here from Dorcas, you just talked about that, so, you know, she can still come say something later if she wants to. And then we got one about the water treatment plant and stuff, so that's gonna be where it's just regular public comments after we get through with this.
Oh, okay.
So-
I just thought the public comments were
No.
based on,
No, all right,
comments that was not, I'm just reading down here, I'm just saying.
okay.
If it doesn't have anything to do
Yeah,
with consent agenda or a regular agenda item, it goes to public comments. That's what I thought.
No, we haven't, we can have comments during this, is what we said.
That's fine.
That's what people are filling up,
Oh, okay.
because one of them's Bracy, Senator Bracy. All right, Bill. Sorry, Mr. Maxwell.
My name is William Maxwell, and I reside at 558 Woodson Avenue.
Speak into that mic, Bill.
My name is William Maxwell.
There you go.
I reside at 558 Woodson Avenue, City of Ocoee. Been a resident there for the last 25 years. Mayor, commissioners, city manager, ladies and gentlemen, this evening is one that I really do not look forward to, but as a matter of necessity, I feel that there's some things that are weighing very heavily on my heart, and that I need to, as a matter of record, seems like I just got my volume turned off. I don't know if I'm still recording or what the case is. As a matter of record, I appreciate the time and the opportunity to come before you and voice those opinions. I had hoped initially to make a presentation to you in 2 parts. Part one would have been, or will be, the presentation of data and input in terms of where we are and what we are doing and what we have been doing. And part two would have been, or will be, the finalization of the planning aspects of our November memorial ceremony in recognition of the 1920 Election Day massacre victims. What I will ask you for is that you give us the approval to continue the planning efforts that we have engaged in, and that we have a work in progress file ongoing. But as was previously stated, COVID-19 didn't give most of us adequate warning to prepare for the devastating effect that it was going to produce upon our society. And therefore, all of the plans that were man-made have been God-changed, and we'll work accordingly within those guidelines. But I do ask that you give us approval to continue the planning to completion, to assemble the necessary resources to turn this into a ceremony that will be memorable, that will pay the appropriate respects and dignify all of the negatives that occurred on that unbelievable day. The purpose of that ceremony, as you've probably heard me say many times before, will serve the specific purpose of telling the story while we're honoring the memory of all of the fallen victims. The act by the city of Ocoee is rendered in the hope of inducing a rehabilitative healing, which everyone anticipates will begin to move the city forward into the 21st century of economic enhancement. Following this precept, the very act itself pays a very special tribute to the members of the West Orange Reconciliation Task Force, which laid the socio-political foundation for the advisory board we commonly refer to as the Human Relations Diversity Board. But a few days ago, I came across, was afforded the opportunity of reading a piece of communication that was directed to the city and about the activities that I'm involved in that has just really been most disturbing. So rest assured that there are some dissenting opinions in existence amongst us. Now, there are those who have expressed doubt in the veracity of our proposed planning efforts and have suggested that the planned events are not sufficient in time and duration to adequately commemorate an act so tumultuous in nature as was the 1920 Election Day Massacre, which we have all come face to face with the reality of the commission of such a dastardly deed by the mob perpetrators. Here's where we must ask some key questions in terms of why and how to expand the scope of the memorial service from what we already have designed without exceeding the limits of good taste that should be realized when a sober occasion does not get turned into a frolicking festival. After having read that July 5th communication, I consider that an incredibly accusatory letter from July Perry Foundation, dated 5 July and addressed to our mayor, with my name and the HRDB's functional roles intertwined throughout its contents. and I've chosen to respond to those comments in the following manner. So I chose to proceed cautiously optimistic, believing in the innate goodness of mankind. I choose to see the glass as being half full rather than half empty. My first response was to ignore the letter and continue what I have been doing for the past 13 years. But that would have given too many people the wrong impression with regard to my credibility, my integrity, and my leadership. Secondly, the letter was a blatant outcry, in my opinion, for information, which I just happened to be in a position to provide to anyone who could or would humble themselves enough to ask. Thirdly, to expend the energy necessary to respond to such a hostile inquiry for the truth, which has been in place all the while, would only become a distraction, delaying the application of positive thoughts towards the timely accomplishment of my mission. And ladies and gentlemen, at this time, I'd like to ask a moment of recognition, but I would be remiss as a leader in the faithful discharge of my duties and responsibilities to the hardworking members of the Memorial Marker team who are present tonight, as they have been for the past 3+ years. And I would just, if they're in the sound of my voice, ask each of them, as I recognize you by name, if you just please stand if you're somewhere that you can do so. Mrs. Rhonda Robinson Anderson, Mrs. Laurie Hart, Nicole Dawkins is medically incapacitated, and Dr. Kathleen Crown. There were 3 other members who, for both personal and professional reasons, could not continue with the team. And I would like to also recognize at this time all of the visiting descendants and relatives. If you're available, I also would ask any and all of the descendants present here tonight to stand and be recognized. I have a list, and I'm sure that that list is not complete within its own, but I would like to take a moment and read those names. And if you are present, please advise us accordingly, or leave message with the city clerk at the end of this meeting that I might be able to contact you. I have the names of David L. Thornton, Gladys Franks Bell, Joanne Hattau, Dr. John Lee Peterson, Jr., Doctor of Education, Barbara Bay, Reverend Stephen A. Nunn, Olivia Raleigh, Mr. Kenneth Thompson, Mrs. Sharon Cooley McWhite, Mr. Robert Hickey, and Mrs. Geraldine Nunn. If I have omitted anyone's name, I assure you it was not by intent. Are there other descendants or relatives present, or are those of you who are present know of any other persons? Please pass that information on. We have now fallen within the time frame of 100 days from the actual execution of the event, and it is very critical that I get all the information that I can in a timely manner, because there's nothing I wish more than to have descendants and relatives participate at the level that they are comfortable with in this ceremony that is in recognition, honor of the memory of their fallen victims of the 1920 massacre. I would also ask you to pause a moment in a memorial. Ladies and gentlemen, I would ask each of you to pause in your activities in a moment of silence in the honor and memory of Congressman John L. Lewis, who was my first choice of a keynote speaker for our upcoming memorial marker ceremony titled A Day of Remembrance. Thank you. You see, there are those among us this evening who would have you believe that the city of Ocoee is still laboring in the past, in the dim, dark days of racism, bigotry, and hate. And I say to those individuals who are obsessed with that type of negative thinking, get over it. I make that statement because my 25-year tenure in this city as a resident is probably more diverse because of my biracial marriage of 30 years to a native daughter. And there are those who would say to you, well, as for Maxwell, you can't take him serious because he lost his identity a long, long time ago, and he does not exist as far as I am concerned. Ladies and gentlemen, that disturbed me greatly. That disturbed me because, like many of you, I am an American fighting man, dedicated to the principles which made this country free. And I'm still prepared to give my life in its defense. So having bled on foreign soil, having paid and answered the call to freedom, I feel and felt that I had the inalienable right to choosing a life mate that I found compatible to me and me compatible to her. And I don't appreciate anyone belittling that factor whatsoever. As I said, it was rather debasing, the comments made about me and my family and circulated via social media by another minority, no less, who may be here in the audience tonight. But my course has been unwavering, and my efforts have been steadfast to bring this important project to a successful completion, thus telling the story while honoring their memory with the utmost thought in mind to heal the age-old wounds that have lingered on for a century. The ultimate thought being that if as a people, as a community, as a city, a county, and a state, when can we put those horrible atrocities behind us? Then and only then will economic enhancement take place and Ocoee will have a new corporate image, predicated on the truthful revelation of what really happened here on that fateful day and terror-filled night of 2 and 3 November 1920. As I looked further into that letter, I took an excerpt that was directed at the city, and the City Commission and the HRDB had been working on a 100-year commemorative event long before anyone else got involved. That is exactly true, and I'm sure that it was a city official who uttered that. But since the letter was addressed in the manner that it was, there were some critical words of wisdom spoken, and I'm going to try my best to quote those words as they were written in the letter. Mr. Nunn's comments are, I quote, Reverend Nunn, my apologies, sir. I am correct in understanding that the culmination of an intense 3-year effort between the City Commission and HRDB has resulted in a 2-hour ceremony? If so, I ascertain that those efforts are thinly veiled representations on the significance and importance of recognition, remembrance, and reconciliation of the Ocoee Massacre of 1920 with what happened in 1920. In these comments that I want to address as follows, chronologically, the concept of the city's planning and hosting a significant 100th year anniversary, a memorial service on or before the anniversary date of 1920 massacre, has a history that can be documented over the past 13 years and traced as follows. On 10 November 2007, I, William Maxwell, served as keynote speaker on behalf of the West Orange Reconciliation Task Force for the initial dedication of the hallowed ground that all of the cameras had seemed to gather around, and that seemed to be the only place that they can find to make a statement. But that didn't just happen yesterday. That happened back in 2007, and it wasn't a marble monument at that time. It was a tin sign painted in green, and the words hallowed ground written upon it in yellow, orange. This was the beginning of my involvement in the African American victims of the 1920 Election Day Massacre. Subject of my topic was, some of you may remember if you were there, the 10-hour riot in Ocoee on 2-3 November 1920. Some of the relatives and descendants may have been there. As I recall, there were some of Mr. Perry's descendants were there. I had an opportunity to meet someone I believe name was Coretha. In August 2016, I was contacted by Mr. Andrew Marinus of the ESPN News Network for the purpose of arranging an interview about the Ocoee story. After speaking with him at length to understand what it was that he was in search of, I agreed to meet with him and have a conversation about where I believed Ocoee was today. The interview went favorable. In subsequent weeks, he decided that he wanted to interview my wife and then 19-year-old son. On 4 November 2016, the article Undefeated was published nationwide by ESPN. As a result of the widespread publication, our city has been or is being highly scrutinized by many and varied agencies throughout the country for an opportunity to learn more about the Ocoee of 1920s compared to where we are today in the 21st century. To that end, one such agency that was concurrently making an outreach to the city of Ocoee for the possibilities of establishing community partnering relationships was the Equal Justice Initiative, headquartered in Montgomery, Alabama. In April 2017, I became the HRDB's authorized or appointed liaison to the Orange County EJI Task Force. The purpose was to monitor the activities of EJI Group and make monthly reports to the HRDB. To learn all aspects of the EJI's approach to the study of lynching in America and to confront the legacy of racial terror. It was during my 12 months of participation on a monthly basis that the group began to seriously undertake the history of Ocoee's past. On 4 May 2017, a report was made to the HRDB during its regular monthly meeting that the EJI Orange County Task Force was on the historical probe of the news event from 2-3 November 1920. The end game being the design, development, installation, and unveiling of a memorial marker for public viewing in the city of Ocoee prior to the occurrence of the 100th anniversary date in 2020. Reverend Nunn's verbal assault continues. I quote, "I can assure you that the Julia Perry Foundation, the foundation, we will not waver nor be intimidated with our commitment to educating our citizenry on the horrors of the Ocoee Massacre, fighting systemic racism, and addressing discriminatory policies that are anti-Black and anti-human. We are not doing our work as a competition with others, but to admirably execute our responsibilities while adhering to the foundational promises of the Ocoee Proclamation." Your first comment in the response to the mayor's letter are laden with the terms of the foundation will not waver, not be intimidated. We are committed to educating the citizenry of the horrors of the Ocoee Massacre, fighting systemic racism, and addressing discriminatory policies that are anti-black and anti-human. Here's my response to your unfounded and implied allegations of the foundation will not waver. We, the HRDB and City of Ocoee, would expect nothing less of an organization which apparently has undertaken such an arduous task. But Reverend Nunn, I had to struggle deeply to get beyond your expressed anger and hostility towards an individual, Mayor Johnson, an organization, the HRDB, and the City of Ocoee, to put into proper perspective the message that you're trying to convey to the public about my hometown for the past 25 and a half years. You see, I'd hoped from the first time that I saw you that we could develop a strong working business relationship based on facts and truth. But quite to the contrary, you've openly attacked a project that I have held near and dear to my heart for the past 13 years. I inherited it from Lester Dabbs while on his deathbed, who was the first of 16 mayors elected in the city of Ocoee to even have the moral courage or the openly expressed humaneness to even publicly talk about the 1920 Election Day Massacre, which very sadly took not only your grandfather, but also the lives and properties, as of this date, of an unknown number of African Americans, an unforgettable and horrific tragedy, one to never be repeated in this city again. The foundation will not be intimidated with our comments to educate our citizenry on the horrors of the Ocoee Massacre. Reverend Nunn, allow me, please, one who has been at the core of the effort to educate citizens on the horrors of the Ocoee Massacre, to share with you and all of others, the descendants, and anyone else who is listening, the painstaking efforts that the City of Ocoee, the HRDB, and its core of dedicated volunteers, and oh yes, let's not forget Mayor Johnson. Personally, my first effort to educate the citizens began, as I said earlier, on 10 November in the initial dedication. You know, I don't recall exactly who or what or who was there, but I want to know and want to tell you that the so-called grandson, James Fleming, of Samuel Trowbridge Salisbury, Ocoee's mayor number 7, and I also, leaders of the mob who went to your grandfather's house to make the initial arrest, which we all now know rapidly escalated into shooting, wounding of both your grandfathers and Sam Salisbury, and the subsequent burning of reported 25 houses, 2 schools, and a fraternal lodge in the northern quarters. I have a copy of the speech if anyone wishes to have a copy of it. My next effort to educate the citizens and the public on the atrocities and horrors of the Ocoee Massacre, I'm going to fast forward about 10 years. And I've already talked about the educational event of ESPN. In 2018, the above efforts led to the first 4 months of the year being devoted to working with EJI and the county. After we had gotten through that, we moved to April 17th, 2018. During a regular city council meeting, the city council unanimously voted to approve funding to travel for 4 HRDB members, Mayor Johnson, to attend the grand opening of the National Memorial for Peace and Justice and the Museum from Slavery to Mass Incarceration at Montgomery, Alabama. This was the second step forward by the city of Ocoee to begin the journey of reconciliation of the sordid acts of an angry white mob on 2-3 November 1920. The implementation of change in Ocoee began during the trip to Montgomery and Selma, Alabama. The irony of this situation is not visibly apparent. You see, there are those in the audience here, perhaps tonight, who would have you believe that our city is still inundated with the same degree of racial bias, bigotry, and prejudices that existed 20, 30, or 40 years ago. Well, I'm here in living color and testimony tonight to tell you the real truth about Ocoee today, and most importantly, for the sake of our children, about the Ocoee of tomorrow. You see, unlike most of you in the confines of this room tonight, I have for the past 30 years lived life on both sides of the coin, the side of both races. You see, I am the guy who some would describe as one who lost his identity a long time ago, because I married a white woman, a native daughter of Ocoee, whose entire family was in Ocoee at the time of the 1920 Election Day Massacre. You see, her father, John Tommen, was 3 years old at the time of the tragedy. And of course, my white wife-to-be would not have been born for another 40 years. In the town that today is being described as discriminatory practices, systemic racism is anti-black and anti-human. Allow me to share a little history with you about Ocoee. A total of 16 mayors, as I said, existed here, pictures of whom are displayed on this wall. 14 of those mayors never had the courage, the moral courage, to actually stand up and talk about it. Lester Dabbs, when elected to mayoralship in 1989, with the assistance of his group, the West Orange Reconciliation Task Force, applied social and economic pressure on the city council that caused them to adopt Resolution 2021 and 23 on the 16th of September 2003, giving birth to the Human Relations Diversity Board. The act was performed by businessmen. The state of Florida has 412 municipalities, 283 cities dispersed throughout 67 counties. It's got 109 recognized townships and 20 villages. And ladies and gentlemen, if you look at what they are doing today as municipalities, as cities and villages, you'll find less than 10 of the 412 that has an elected and appointed Human Relations Diversity Board specifically oriented towards equality and the recognition of minorities. Ocoee is something special to me, and yet there are those of you who are criticizing our mayor and the HRDB for not doing enough to acknowledge the horrors of 1920. To those individuals, I ask questions: what have you done for the past 13 years? You know, until we actively activated this concept in 2017, 2016, the 25 years that I'd lived here, I'd heard absolutely no one talk about the event. No one. No one did anything from without. No one did anything from within. And the moment The moment we put forth, you, our city leaders, put forth resources and demonstrate an interest and an attitudinal change to give that recognition that those fallen victims so long deserved. It seems that every adversarial voice outside of the city of Ocoee has begun to rear their ugly heads. And I say to all of those who are adversarial in nature or who feels that the city isn't doing enough, I believe that what one does speaks so loudly that you cannot hear anything that they say. In other words, action speaks louder than words. Come and join us. Come work with us. Come and help us make this a memorial that Ocoee, Orange County, the state of Florida, the southeastern United States region, because we are listed across the country as having had the highest number of terror lynchings in the political history of this country. Come work with us and help us make this a memorable situation. Come and chair a committee that you will solicit from the religious institutions across this country a bell-ringing ceremony on the day that we have that ceremony, that at a specified time, a chosen group of people will walk up to the belfry and ring that bell for 100 minutes. Come help me make this happen. Don't fight me, because I don't quit. I will not quit. I will see this project through, so help me God, as long as I live. In 2019, this is back onto that educational process and telling the story of Ocoee that we've been accused of hiding. The HRDB took the Ocoee story to the road with the title of Ocoee, 100 Years of Reconciliation and Accountability. The Marker Committee formed from within itself a panel and forum which researched and documented the historical accounts of what happened on that November day and took it all the way to the provost's office of the University of Florida at Gainesville. I want to do this specifically. On August 16, 2018, a request was received from Dr. Paul Ortiz, who is the director of the Samuel Proctor Oral History Program, University of Florida, Gainesville, for the HRDB to participate in a national symposium on African American history and the unveiling of the Joel Buchanan Archives of African American Oral History during the period 21-23 March. The theme of this symposium was From Segregation to Black Lives Matter. The HRDB, accompanied by Mayor Johnson, attended a feature forum with the following members appearing on stage as panelists on the topics of Ocoee, 100 Years of Reconciliation and Accountability. Participating members were Mayor Johnson, Dr. Kathleen Crown, Dr. Sandria Foster, Nicole Dawkins, and Major William E. Maxwell, retired. The panel's presentation was filmed live, podcasted, and streamed throughout the state of Florida and other locations unknown. On 29 May, continuing in the concept of educating the citizenry of the Ocoee on the Ocoee story, the HRDB received in April a formal invitation to host a visit by the Department of Law, United States Military Academy, West Point, New York. Colonel Harwin, staff, and cadets, who are the class members of class number 2023, made Ocoee their first highlighted stop as they did their kickoff of the Civil Rights Ride through more than 12 states, Alabama, Florida, all the way through Virginia, and back home to New York. We invited them for the purpose of an effort to share, in sharing with each of them the reality of the story, its past, its present, and its future. For a period of approximately 6 hours, we imparted a combined 100 years of experience gained from the day-to-day living, working, and raising our families here in the city of Ocoee. They each, in their own frame of reference, had heard most of the horror stories of the past, of how this town was declared a sundown town as a direct result of acts of terrorism and violence imposed upon the African Americans in this unincorporated community on 2 November 1920. We chronologically took them through the 5 phases through which this city has evolved to arrive at its present state of existence. Our assistant city manager took them through at least another 5 developmental years into the future of Ocoee. The story of Ocoee, 100 years of reconciliation and accountability, was told by 4 of its residents, whose combined residency in the city of Ocoee spans a time span of a century. The more outrageous allegations are made against Ocoee. The foundation is fighting systemic racism, discriminatory policies that are anti-black and anti-human. Well, you know, as an African-American resident of the city of Ocoee for more than 25 years, as many of my fellow African-Americans would label her, married to a white woman, the relationship and the marriage spans a period of 30 years, wherein we've raised a 23-year-old son here. And we've done that without really creating any serious incidents. Incidents such as red light camera violations, speeding, tickets, and parking, which I guess doesn't qualify as criminal offenses. And I have been a community political activist here in the community for the duration of my residency. So I find your allegations of systemic racism and anti-black, anti-human absolutely and unequivocally unfounded and baseless. I would extend the invitation to all descendants and anyone who has positive or negative comments to provide them to me, and let us work through this until we achieve the desired objective. That is to plant a marker that tells the story, honoring the memory of every African American who is a victim, a descendant of the victims of the 1920 Election Day Massacre. Ladies and gentlemen, subject to your questions, this concludes my presentation. I thank you for the time.
Anybody questions?
Not right now.
Yeah, what we're gonna do, Mr. Maxwell, I've got Senator Bracey's next, and then Reverend Nunn. So when they get those, and then there's some people behind them, and most all of them are from Orlando. So I'm gonna let them speak, but they're from, there's none of them from Ocoee. They're all from Orlando. So I'm gonna let them speak, but we're gonna start with Senator Bracey, and there's I don't know what she did. I don't know what she did with his papers. So I got Senator Bracey, so just, you can wait. I guess we'll have to wait there, and then we'll bring them back for the discussions between the two about the committee, because let's hear what they asked for. Then we can come back and discuss between the two groups. I think so. Or you can wait over here. Say, yeah, just wait, spread out over there. Senator Bracey, I don't know what happened to your paper.
Podium's back there.
Somebody, if anybody's out there, I need the papers for the next. Huh? They took the papers, Melody. Huh?
They
Hey.
have them all out there.
She can speak again on what you got a while ago? Dorcas,
No, she has a whole something different. This is something totally different.
that's what it says.
What's that? She's talking about skin care.
All right, you took, where's Senator Braces? I need that. You want to come down here and talk?
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, come on
Could
down.
you go over there with the cameras, please?
Yeah, I think,
Aren't the cameras set up for there also?
Oh, it's back there, okay.
I don't know, but you come on down there and speak there. Everybody lives in one place.
So you gotta clean the microphone.
Clean the mic.
All right. And to the people at the Lakeshore Center, and we have some people that want to speak on some of the things that are not on the agenda and some of the things that are on the agenda. So there will be, after we get through going through this process, we'll address those comment sheets. Sorry to keep you, but we'll get to you as soon as we can. All right. I will say something else. Senator Bracey's fixed to start. We're not going to time Senator Bracey or Mr. Nunn, Reverend Nunn. After that, then on the comment sheets, we'll start timing it. He's not getting timed, and neither will the Reverend Nunn. So, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor, Commission members. Senator Bracey here. I'm going to be brief. I am here to ask that we can have the July and November event that we had last year, again here on the Saturday before the election. I just heard the HRDB boards mention that they're thinking about having a dinner that night. So I don't see that there would be a conflict. This event that we had last year was during the day. Commissioner Rosemary attended, Commissioner Oliver. It was well over 1,000 people. And for an event that we put together in about a month's time, it was well received. It is supported by the community. It's supported by the family of July Perry. And I think it would be appropriate to have again for the 100th year anniversary. I don't see why there would be any conflict with any of the events that were mentioned. And so all I ask is that we have the authority to have it at Bill Breeze Park and be given some police officers to man it. That's what was given last year. And so that's what we would ask again. I bore all the cost of putting it on. It was an excellent event, live entertainment, speakers, a commemoration of what happened 100 years ago. And so I think it was appropriate, it was fitting, and I think it would be fitting that we had it again with all the community support for that event. And so that's why I'm here. And I would ask for the same thing that was given last year. Hopefully, we will have the authority to do it, but we're willing to go elsewhere if not welcomed again this year. So that's my comments. Thank you.
Okay. So I will tell you that last year we mentioned that we wouldn't be able to do it this year because of our group doing it, but we also will wait till we get through, then we'll discuss it amongst our commissioners, sir. And the other one is, if I'm not mistaken, they're starting on Saturday also. So not just for the dinner, but they got other things for that day too. So we'll let them, we'll discuss that. You can.
Real quick, I don't think it was mentioned that the 100th year anniversary was taken for the whole week. I remember talking about the event. We actually put in a reservation immediately after we had the first one. It was accepted, but then it was removed later. So I know there was going to be something done by the HRDB board, but
Well,
it was not spoken that,
I
that,
don't-
whole.
I don't want to get into, I promised myself I wouldn't get into a long discussion on this stuff, but I will make a quick comment. It was, we mentioned, and I can go back and get the files out where we did mention there was going to be something going on this year at this time with your deal. But it also would tell you why we come around to where we have time, because I was berated so much online about Founder's Day. We changed the name of Founder's Day. We changed the day to Founder's Day. We changed the date again of Founder's Day. And then I canceled it because we did a democracy vote here at this commission, and that was voted to do what we were gonna do. And then this group, the July Perry group and foundation, and them sent out letters to all the sponsors, backhanding us in the back, which didn't work because they still agreed to do it. But we agreed not to do it because it's showing the respect. And that's why this date has come open. So if we, don't do the backhanded stuff where they send out letters demanding these people not to give the money to the city, which we got to give money to them now to do this. And that's why I said, let's don't have it. We'll move it to the spring, have it in the spring. And once again, after 4 different times of changing the thing around where we could do that, that's why it come about, that date is open. They had planned to do that, but I had told them we already had that date set aside for the festival. But we canceled that. So that's how we got to that. But we'll, like I said, we're gonna let Mr. Nunn speak, and then we can get to the other. I mean, the other thing I meant, I had some people ask me about this. They said there's 2 things going on. They said it's the July Perry, and then you got the regular celebrate, the recognition of all people. It's not just July Perry, and I believe in what they're saying is our diversity board, who's been working on this for a long time. It is all the people that died in that thing.
Yeah, Mayor, I would agree with that wholeheartedly. Yeah. And even though it was called the July and November Festival, obviously he's the person who's most known in this massacre, but we made sure that we recognized the entire massacre. And so
oh yeah, well, that's what we want to do. We're trying to do that, sir. I appreciate it. So you can just stay over here.
I just have a question just for the record. For the record, where do you reside? Not your address. What city do you reside?
Ocoee.
No, sir. You moved back home? Where do you live at? No, I'm asking because I had his wife tell me the other day he didn't, so I don't know. I mean, where?
I'm not married. I live in Ocoee.
What's your address? Because you don't have it on here.
Yeah, I mean,
Give me your address and I'll put it on. No, you're right. I'm not going to argue with you, sir. You asked a question, so give us your address. Give me your address and I'll look at it.
You do not put me with your
No,
address.
No, I'm not.
We did,
Your address is protected by.
Because he don't live in Ocoee, sir.
Your address is.
That's all right. It's
Again.
okay, Senator Bracy.
okay,
Hold on.
okay,
Senator Bracy,
Okay.
that's okay. I don't care. Because I know you don't live here, but that's fine.
time out, please.
I do live in Ocoee.
Where at?
I'm not going to say it.
If you do, just say it. I'll tell you where I live.
Okay, just because you're comfortable
Okay.
telling people. where
No,
you
that's
live,
fine. I don't care.
I don't have to.
Okay, that's fine.
I live in Ocoee.
You don't live here, so
I
that's
own
fine.
a house
Okay.
in Ocoee.
Okay, that's another subject. We'll get to that later. Okay.
I think, listen, I think we're being very adversarial up here for
No.
no reason whatsoever.
Well, tell
No,
me that.
no, Mr. Mayor, this is
I'm not
your-
adversarial.
no.
I just asked for the address.
Okay, but we have already
Commissioner?
declared in this, hang on, let me talk. We've already declared in this commission that people who come to speak from the public is not required to give their address.
I'm going to
There's
tell you
no,
where they live.
there's no requirement, and here
But
you
then we
are
don't need 'em-
lambasting the state
we
senator
don't need 'em on
to do.
our- we don't need 'em on
You
our
are-
forms. Is that
Are
not
you gonna
right?
allow, if you gonna allow me to speak or not?
Yeah.
Because I can speak over you just like you can
You
speak
go
over
right
me.
ahead.
Okay. We
Join
have
in the
required,
crowd.
there you go again.
You are.
Listen.
Join in.
Do I need to speak louder?
No, go ahead. I'm telling you, go ahead and speak.
Okay, so,
This
Everybody's
commission has already said that no one who comes before the public needs to give their address.
No.
And here you are berating a state senator in
Yep.
commission. You are being very disrespectful
Okay. I am.
and disloyal to the requirements that we have placed as a commission. You may have some issue with this, but this commission has already spoken on this matter regarding addresses.
No. We just said not to put them in public. They gotta be on the address, sir.
That is absolutely incorrect.
No, sir.
Okay, can I say something?
Yeah.
I don't want to belabor this. I think we need to listen to the folks who are coming forward to talk to us, but we did say that we weren't going to have them announce it from.
Announce it, that's right.
They don't have to announce it because we don't want their
gotta be on.
addresses.
But you asked him to announce his
Okay,
address.
I realize
He
that.
said
Hold
he
on.
did. I was just
I didn't ask him,
But-
I'm talking about you. You asked him to announce his
Okay,
address,
I
and
did.
that's inappropriate.
Okay, I did.
All right.
That is highly inappropriate.
Okay, I did.
In fact, I believe you
Let's stand corrected.
should be apologizing to the senator.
I'm not, never gonna apologize to Mr. Brayson, Senator Brayson. No, sir. I asked him where he lived. He says he lived in Ocoee.
Okay,
That's not all you said.
That's not on here.
That's not,
That's
why,
not on there.
why
it
don't
doesn't
we,
have to be on there.
Okay, yeah, it does.
why don't we move on and listen
All right,
to other folks?
we
'Cause
are.
I think we have some
All right,
important issues.
bring in, Jim.
Reverend
No,
Nunn.
no. Reverend Nunn. Reverend Nunn.
Are we gonna go ahead and have everyone speak from back there? Right there? Is that where, because she's cleaning the back podium, so is it? Okay, so why don't we have everyone speak from that podium so she,
All right, can they
Yeah,
get
we-
them on, can they
We have
get
a
them
camera
on?
back here. There's a
the
camera
camera's
facing
there,
that.
so it's
Yeah,
Can
not.
they get them
camera
on the
facing that,
camera?
I think so that we can eliminate
It'll make
people
things go
walking through
faster.
there, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good evening, and for the record, I am Pastor Stephen A. Nunn, the President, CEO for the Julius July Perry Foundation. I want to say to the mayor and to the commissioners, and also in the presence of Senator Bracy.
Can you speak
Good
into the
evening.
mic a little bit, because I can barely
Yes.
hear you?
You might have,
Can
you
they
might have to
raise
take
the
it out of there and
volume?
hold it.
Okay.
You might
How
have to
about,
take
is that better?
That's
Yes.
better.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Let me take a second to just simply say something that my father said to me as a kid that speaks volumes still today. He said, "You don't ever have to figure out or try to wonder who a man is. If you let him talk long enough, he'll reveal his own character."
Yeah.
That being said, I'm also reminded that the truth will set you free. So tonight, I thank you for this opportunity to speak, and certainly my message is definitely not one of speaking of someone that's not free of conscience or conviction. I heard my name mentioned a few times, personally and also directed to the Julius July Perry Foundation. It was called enough and it was stated enough on record that I do not need to state the name of the person that addressed it. What I will say is this: there has been a lot of information back and forth. There have been a number of emails, there have been a number of letters, there have been a number of phone calls, and there have been some personal conversations that I have personally had with some officials of Ocoee. There have been some things that have fallen through the cracks. I also want to say for the record that I nor my family, and by the way, Caritha was not present because she was dead. That's my grandmother. So I'm not sure who was there that was a reference to earlier, but she certainly wasn't. If she was, then we wouldn't be here for sure. But I do want to say that as the leader of the Julius July Perry Foundation, we absolutely still stand behind the vision and the mission of the Julius July Perry Foundation and the intent to bring not only education and attention, but to also partner and collaborate with all parties involved, City of Ocoee and anyone else, that is in a position and in a place that we can get the information out and remember, and not just lay it on a one-day event, but also to understand that it's a lifetime. A friend of mine said to me once, he said, you know, he's a Jewish man, and he said, that's one thing that's different about your culture and mine. And I said, what's that? He said, you teach your children to forget, and get over it, as someone said. We teach our children to remember, to make sure it doesn't happen again. And so tonight I want to tell you that we're not shaking in our boots, nor are we taking it personal, the things that was indicated or said through letters, because there's still some information missing. I do want to say for the record in my close, because I don't think I need to be long, I think you've already heard a dissertation and a biography of a life, so I thought we were here for other reasons. So I will say this. We have reached out, and we were supposedly going to have a place at the table or in conversation concerning the events of the memorial that was being planned. I do want to say also for the record that I believe it would have been Dr. Crown who responded in writing and denied the opportunity for us to have that particular meeting because of how we wanted to have the meeting. My position then, and it still stands now, was you've been planning all of this time. It's been said by some that they had no ability or opportunities to reach out to other descendants of the family. Well, for 2 commission meetings, when this particular person spoke, I was sitting right here in the audience. Fact about it, I was introduced. And yet, you could not reach me or reach anyone that was connected to the foundation. I find that interesting. The meeting was turned down because I said, you're now wanting to have a meeting to talk about what you've already planned. And you already have your strategy, and you've already determined what you're going to do. So for me to make a journey to come for a meeting or any representative of the foundation, I didn't see the reason. So I said, here's what we can do. How about we do what technology is affording us to do right now? Let's have a Zoom meeting. It was later said to me by a person that was chairing with that particular committee that that seemed impersonal and that seemed insensitive, and it didn't open an opportunity for people to get to know and be intimate. Well, I agree with that, but the intimacy should have started a while back when we were all available and we had made ourselves obvious to this particular situation. So I want to say that whatever as a foundation we can do to support, to collaborate, to work with, to go hand in hand and arm, that's what we are about. And that's our focus. We have no time at all, and that's from the top to the bottom, to throw mud, to sling insults, to make insinuations that are absolutely ridiculous. That's not the time or the energy we have right now, because we got to work while it's day, because when night comes, nobody can work. So we're trying to get it done. I will close by simply saying this. I think Dr. Crown made a comment in her message, and she talked about the other descendants of Ocoee and how the KKK took the skulls, and that's why they could not determine the descendants. I'll just simply say I'm so glad they didn't take the skull of July Perry. So we do have at least one person that shared in the incident, and he left his legacy, and we stand here today to represent that. Thank you, and may God bless you.
All right. The next is who? I've got most Robinson. Robinson.
And you want me to start the timer now, Mayor, or
Huh?
am I starting the timer now?
Yes. Yep. Now we start.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Good evening, and thank you for allowing me to come speak with you all as a commission. I am a city of Orlando resident, but I'm here because I'm an Orange County public school teacher, and I recently have joined in representing and speaking on behalf of the July Perry Foundation. And I'm coming to just support and encourage you all to allow for a day of truly recognizing July Perry and his family, along with what has gone on with the Ocoee Massacre. Just to tell a little bit about myself, I did not grow up here. I grew up in Columbus, Ohio, and I've lived in Orange County for over a decade now, and I've had the pleasure of teaching the young people here. But I thought it was important that I came and spoke at this commission meeting because I actually was the track and field coach at Ocoee High School for the years of 2015 and 2016. And as their head coach, coaching track and field and cross country, the Ocoee High School students saw their first state finish in the girls 4x1 in 2015, and I was very honored and proud to lead them in that. It was just of recent in 2017 that I found out about the Ocoee massacres. And honestly, the history that is rich about my ancestors in Ocoee is something that I would love to be celebrated, and more importantly, to see young people who look like me know that history and it's celebrated in a positive light. And I think acknowledging and bringing to the forefront the things that have happened and the growth and the development of Ocoee, although in spite of such things, I think is important to not only the community, but the growth of Ocoee, and as well as the minority students that are in Ocoee. You all have some amazing young people here. I definitely was immersed in the city. We ran up and down the streets of Ocoee in training, and I think that it would be honorable to see a collaborative effort. I'm actually happy to hear some of the others that I had not known are a part of this in celebrating what has happened and just acknowledging those things. So I come to you encouraging you all to allow really July Perry Foundation to, now that I hear, to celebrate and pop off and initiate the celebration on that Saturday and lead into the week. I would love to see that collaborative effort. I have partnered with this July Perry Foundation because as a 2004 Olympic gold medalist, I ran for the United States of America. And as all of us over there in Athens, Greece, as an American, the one thing I do know that was celebrated was the fact that we all were patriots of this country. And regardless of my skin color, they celebrated me. I think now is the time for Ocoee to allow the celebration of my descendants here and honor the ancestors that own this land, so our young people can see the great things that they came from and how we've overcome and where we are today in spite of some tragedies and atrocities that's happened. I think we can take some negative things and turn them into something positive. But most importantly, you all have some tremendous young people here, some minorities here that deserve to see their legacy, know their legacy, and see it celebrated so they can be fruitful members of society as well. And so I would love to see the July Perry be a part of starting that for you guys with Senator Bracey's project on October 31st. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Right on time. Tanya Dorska?
Hello, thank you so much for allowing me to be here. Mayor, Commissioners, my name is Tanya Duriska, and I am a resident of Ocoee. I did not put my address on the information there, but I'll be happy to provide it for you in a private setting. I actually grew up here in Orange County. Came to Florida in 1983 with my family. And I am a product of the Orange County school system. And I was recently asked to represent the July Perry Foundation and what happened with the Ocoee Massacre. And at that point, I had never heard about the Ocoee Massacre or July Perry. I knew nothing about that through my educations with Orange County. And as a resident of Ocoee, I felt that it was important that that information be disseminated, that we actually know and understand the history of events, tragic events such as the Ocoee Massacre that has happened in our community. I implore the commission to work with the July Perry Foundation. What I've heard up to this point is a lot of dissension, is a lot of disagreeing, but on the same topics. It seems as if both organizations are very interested in the exact same thing. You obviously have a disagreement in the way that you want to roll that out, but I think that everyone here has the ability to work together to figure out how both organizations and any other organization that is interested in supporting this initiative, supporting the the Ocoee Massacre, and recognizing all of the residents that lost their lives in this massacre and are interested in educating our communities about what has transpired. I don't know Mr. Maxwell, but he indicated that the July Perry Foundation was in some way disrespectful towards him. I don't know anything about that. I know that the foundation is interested in bringing information together to our communities so that we can collectively provide information to residents so that we can understand what transpired and understand what we can do to honor our community members, the people who lost their lives in the Ocoee Massacre, and we can bring that information and that history to our community. I would
Thank you.
ask.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ashley Carter.
Maybe you wanna wait a minute so that she has, maybe you wanna wait like a second so when she cleans, there's no one right
Yeah, I
behind
know,
her.
I know. I just
So
called her.
someone's not following within, I'm a queen of six.
And anybody that's up, excuse me just a second, I know we're doing the same comments over and over. So the ones over at the Lakeshore Center, if you're gonna do the same comments, by us having the time frame, it'd be kinda nice just to kinda cut them down to certain ones. So we can do it all night if we'd like to, but it'd be kinda nice if we're saying the same thing. So Ashley Carter.
Hi, yes, my name is Ashley Carter. I'm a student within the Orange County school system. I go to college here, and I prepared a speech for you guys today. In 1920, for the first time, July Perry, a black man, attempted to vote in Ocoee, Florida, and was killed by an angry mob of residents. The angry mob continued to attack and burn down the black community within Ocoee, Florida. Where Ocoee High School stands today is where those black homes once stood. I only learned of this a year ago. I was not taught this in my history class. My family has lived right outside Ocoee for over 30 years, and my mother has owned a home in Ocoee for over 5 years. And when I was 10, I remember in my history class that they told us that African Americans gained the right to vote in 1869. My mother taught me that voting was an exciting and important event. We woke up early and drove down the street to our same polling place we always went to. If we got there early enough, there would be no lines, and we went right into the polling booth. I helped my mom fill the bubbles and then place the ballot into the box. My favorite part was being able to wear my voter sticker to school to show it off to everyone. I was taught that everyone deserved to have a voice and choose those who would represent them. I was also taught that America was a democracy. And as a little black girl living in the Ocoee community, I knew that one day I would be able to contribute to my community by casting my own vote. And being born and raised in Orlando, I experienced firsthand being denied access to Ocoee and ultimately Florida's complete history. Even that history of my own backyard. In the 90s, the only thing I was taught about Ocoee was to not enter Ocoee, and that black bodies were not welcome here. I had no idea why, but now I do. Why has July Perry not been a part of my education? I have grown up in a place where black people have died and a community has been destroyed for a man trying to exert his right to vote, to own a home and property in Ocoee like many other blacks today. The July Perry Foundation wants to educate our youth regarding the local history of Florida. Ocoee High School, where 76% of the student body are minorities, should have access to a complete education of their local community. And community should be the focus in history. If we learn about the history of our communities, we hope that the same atrocities, like the Ocoee Massacre of 1920, won't ever happen again. And I've heard in this meeting today that people have said that the memorial is not enough, and I agree that the memorial is not enough, but it is a start. And the next step would be to put this history in our history books. Thank you.
after she cleans it, Russell Drake.
You can start.
Okay.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and distinguished commissioners of the city of Ocoee. My name is Russell Drake. I'm an Orlando resident. I live in Orlando. It's often said, if you care about a place, you invest in it. I put my money in Ocoee. At least 4 days a week, I spend money in Ocoee. Whether it's at a place like Vitality Bowl that's right there on West Colonial, whether it's Evelyn's Creations that's in West Oaks Mall, whether it's one of these gas stations that you have, whether it's one of the 2 sit-down restaurants that you have, from Shauna's to Texas Roadhouse. I put money in Ocoee. So if you don't value what I say because I live in Orlando, that is okay. But know that I care about Ocoee and putting money where it counts. We come here today really to foster unity. You see, nearly 100 years ago, a tragedy occurred, a true tragedy, a worldwide tragedy. It's listed right now as one of the worst tragedies to happen. We have the opportunity, nearly a century later, to at least bring some solace to it, to unify the community. I thank you all for having the conversation that needs to be had. I'm grateful that you have a state senator like Senator Randolph Bracey that knows that history will only repeat itself if we don't correct it and let people know the wrongs that are done. So I come here to appeal to you to involve those in the July Perry Foundation. We know that one name. You see, July Perry was an Ocoee resident who was killed in Orlando, if we look at our history, right? And so it'd be robbery on my part, being a community advocate that lives in Orlando, if I don't come to Ocoee and appeal to this body to say, hey, let's involve everybody. I know there were many people who lost their lives, and it was tragic. It was horrible. None of us were there. We're right here, and we got the opportunity to repair. So let's come together. Let's put the pettiness aside so we can attain a greater purpose. We're in a pandemic right now. There can't be more than 12 people in this room. We're walking around in masks. Is this really what we're bartering about? Is this what we're arguing about? How many of us really even know if we're gonna be here in November or October at the rate things are going in the state of Florida? So let's look at the big picture. In November, we have an opportunity to honor those who were lost a century ago. Let's do it right way. Let's bring everybody together. Bring July Perry's family to the table. I thank you for the time and the opportunity. One love.
All right. Now we can go to between the 2 different issues here. If anybody got questions of either one of the sides, and then we can decide about the dates. But then the rest of it, we go back. That's it for the regular, this part of the business. So what we're going to do is now discuss the board asked for the dates, and I would ask the board, the 2 board members here, and I guess the other ones are over there. If you're, I do know one of the comments I heard, and then you can make a comment to it, is about the meeting part. There was another date put in there, and then that fell out too. So, what is your? You asked for the dates. Of what dates? Come back up to the microphone. I don't understand why it can't be combined, and I've asked this before, the Reverend Nunn before, why they couldn't get combined where they do this stuff together when you gotta have separate dates.
Right, well, we had originally wanted to get October 31st through, I believe, November 8th, because so many things are changing, and we've gone from plans of doing something so many times, because so many folks have asked us to have it be a big week. And so many things are up in the air right now that we're trying to nail things down more concrete, but at this point, we just need as much time as we can get. But we're gonna let the commission decide what you folks wanna do.
All right, commissioners, you got questions?
Yeah, I'm not
That-
sure,
I'm sorry. This is the diversity board's comments, right, from all the diversity members?
Yes, yes, we've had,
Not all of them.
yeah, we've had
Sorry.
numerous meetings, and
Okay.
basically, we've all come to the consensus that we wanna have all
All right.
this time, so we are not, you know,
Commissioner Branson?
okay. You're asking for a block of time, and so I'm not sure, is each one of those days within that block being used for something?
well, we're not gonna use Tuesday night for sure, because you have a meeting, and that's election day,
Yeah.
but that's the only day for sure that we were not going to do something.
So currently, you have something scheduled or planned for the other days?
Correct.
Can I see what that is? Is that,
Some of it's secret, sorry.
I can't make a decision based on secret.
I know, but,
And let me say this. And the reason I say that is because we have someone else, another organization in the form of Senator Bracy, asking for one of those days.
right,
And so I want, it's hard for us to say,
Yeah.
we're gonna go with the HRDB request if I don't know exactly what they're
Right.
doing, and then Senator Bracy knows exactly what he's doing.
Yeah.
He's very succinct and very purposeful in his ask.
correct.
And so
Part of
I'm
the,
kinda torn here.
right, and I understand that. One of the, well, numerous conversations have occurred on the HRDB is that we don't want to have it turn into a corn dog eating circus. And that's our biggest fear. That we want it to be solemn events, very somber, and not have bouncy houses and that sort of thing. To us, that's not the direction we wanted to go in, and we didn't want to see the city of Ocoee go into that direction.
Yeah.
So.
I'm not even sure if that's, I'm not even sure how offensive that is, but I'm not even part of that planning, and I find that comment offensive.
Well, that's what I was told happened last year. At the,
Okay, I wasn't there last year, I'm just
Right,
saying.
I wasn't
I'm
either.
just trying to figure out, how do we get both organizations, the HRDB and the senators event coordinated, possibly, I'm not,
Whatever.
There was a train of thought here. I serve on the diversity board, and I watch what they're doing. This is July. Come July to November, I think, Commissioner, you'll see that they got a full plan, because they got a surprise that's gonna be happening. It's gonna take some of the time. But I think you got 4 months or 5 months to finish up their schedule. So, that's, but if we don't let the diversity board do what they're supposed to do, then why are we at the diversity board? But I also know I heard, I don't know if he can say it or not, he said it earlier to me today, that he has no problem with them joining in and working with them. But we tried to do that.
Yeah.
And it was tried to do that. And I got a letter here that states the other what was said.
Yeah,
I don't want to read that out, but I can.
And if we
So
can have that, Senator.
Did you get an answer from her?
No.
All right, he's up there now, so you can ask him. All right, Bill, go back up there where they can talk to you. Mr. Maxwell.
I have a question too.
I got this.
Yes, sir.
Anybody got questions of Bill?
Yes,
Got
ma'am.
anything else to say? Commissioner Wilson?
Commissioner Wilson has a question.
We go 1, 2, 3, 4. I have a
Go.
question.
You-
Okay, let me get this clarified, okay? We have November event with Senator Bracy. Then we have HRDB, and is the July Perry Foundation a third, or a July Perry with you?
Well,
I'm just confused as to, we've got 3 fractions here. I'm sorry, I'm told you can't hear me. We have, the question I'm asking is that, do we have 3 different groups, or is it, the 2 are together, represent Senator Bracy and the July Perry Foundation together?
Well,
and then
Commissioner,
HRDB?
that's what we really don't know. And there has been no delineation in terms of whether there is one entity, 2 or 3 entities. We're doing, per our bylaws and charter, what is our mission and responsibility to educate the community. And that has been the design purpose from day one in terms of what it is that we're doing. And the only thing we're asking you, our appointers, is we feel that as the HRDB, the resident, we deserve priority. I have no problem in sharing with any organization who shares the same common mission that we are upholding as is outlined in our bylaws. And I believe we've lived up to that.
Are you with the July Perry
July
Foundation,
Perry.
or is it a separate?
The July Perry Foundation supports the event that we want to put on. So you can say we're working together.
Okay.
They would prefer
Well-
the event that we are planning. They will be working with us in planning that event. And just so that you know, we're planning to have the likes of a national entertainer. We're working on getting possible presidential candidate to come the Saturday before. We have also a large
Trump coming?
event planned. So my point is, I've heard her mention there possibly may be a dinner that night that they're trying to get the family of July Perry to come to, but it's been communicated that the July Perry Foundation, the family, the descendants that you're trying to get to come to this dinner, wants this event to happen. So to answer your question, I think it's pretty clear where the family stands, the planning that we have for this event. So with that.
Can I ask you a question, Senator? Did you not say that you were going to have it somewhere else?
I
This
said,
date's not here?
what I did say is if you all will not welcome me and the July Perry Foundation for this event, then we will obviously have it somewhere else. But having the inaugural event in Ocoee in the 100th year anniversary, I think it's fitting that we have it in Ocoee. But if you do not
Well, I do
vote
too.
for us to have it here, we'll find a place to have it.
All right. Vice Chairman Maxwell.
Mayor, and Commissioner Brinson, and Senator Bracy, the question that continuously enters my mind is why can't we come to a mutual agreement on how to do this? We're not just a fly-by-night organization that came up yesterday with an idea of what we're doing. We've been in the making of this, and I get the impression from the letter that I read, Senator, that we're supposed to subordinate ourselves to the foundation. And I don't see that anywhere within the purview of our responsibilities or duties. I'm willing to communicate, sit down at the table and talk with and favorably negotiate anything that is going to move forward towards the installation and unveiling of the marker that is here in storage as we speak on 1 November. And I don't understand the opposition that is being implied, perhaps, if not suggested or spoken.
All right, well, let's finish getting this guy. You want to say anything?
Well, I would just mention, I remember having a meeting last year when you came to my office about putting on this event, and your group asked me to cancel the event. And so I think when you talk about collaboration, maybe the July Perry, myself, don't really look at it as collaboration. I offered to partner. I'll offer to partner again. I think that what we're doing, I think, is in the spirit of what the family would like, and so I didn't see it really as a collaboration the way you presented it, but I would be willing to do it if you were.
All right, now we got a decide. The diversity board, and then after we even decide this, then you can, maybe y'all can somehow or another come to a joint meeting where you do work this out.
But before we decide, I do have a comment I need to make.
Well, I didn't say you could.
Okay, it's okay. Just let me know when it's my turn.
Go ahead.
Okay, all right. Okay, so this evening we have sat here and we have had some comments, some pretty scathing comments from, seems to be two sides of the fence here. And we've heard a lot about some letters that's been written, some emails that's been going back and forth behind the scenes. And there's been some facts that's been put out there. Before we move any further, let me give you some facts that I will present, and not facts that I've heard or facts that someone has told me, facts that I have firsthand, that I've witnessed firsthand. When I was first elected, one of the first things that I did was, my campaign promise was to remember the past. My very first interview before I was elected, it was to honor, to remember the past, to bring our city together as one. That was my campaign promise. And as a person, the person that I am, to uphold my campaign promises, I sat on HRDB board to listen to what was going on. The first thing I asked was there ever an apology for the Ocoee Massacre? So I was always told that never ask a question if you don't know the answer to it. So I already knew the answer to the question because I'd already contacted the state of Florida, and I've looked through the archives to look for some type of proclamation or an apology for that terrible event. This was March of 2018, and I didn't find that. So I went on a crusade to ask and plead with the HRDB board to come up with something, a draft, and I gave a date. I said, we gotta have something before October. And as a result of that ask and that effort, I brought a proclamation that was drafted by a PR firm because I didn't see anything done. Commissioner Brinson did a draft, as well as HRDB. We had 3 drafts almost saying the same thing. We came together on that, and we got this proclamation done. So that's a fact. That's a fact. So moving forward, as I attended the HRDB, once we got that done, the next goal was to honor our past and to honor those that perished in the Ocoee Massacre. And I started attending meetings to listen to see what was done, and I asked a few questions that was answered with a little hostility, simply asking about a budget for this 100-year solemn occasion. And this was in 2018, and it was my understanding that you mentioned since 2009, 13 years, what you've been doing, and it sounds like, Mr. Maxwell, you have been working a lot in 13 years. You've done a lot. I listened to what you said, but I asked one simple question. If we knew that this event was going to happen 10 years ago, 13 years ago, 15 years ago, or 20 years ago, and we're working towards honoring this so that we may be able to come to some reconciliation, bringing our city together and propelling us into the future. My question was, why wasn't there a budget asked of this commission prior to that so we can start putting this thing together? But there was no budget established. And to this day, right now, I have yet to see today a budget for this particular event. But it's okay, though.
May I respond to that, Commissioner?
You can respond to it as soon as I finish. But it's okay. It's okay if we don't have a budget, because I know there's going to be an ask at some point that we put a budget together and we all start working together. Now, as far as what happened, as far as I heard you speak, and you talked about your history in the city of Ocoee, and I think that's great. But some of the things that were said as far as your family makeup and those things, I don't think that's really important as far as what we're talking about, coming together. We got to come together. That's my point. And I understand that when you attack a man's family, that's personal. I get that. I truly, truly get that. But what I'm hoping and I'm praying, it is my prayer that God would bring us together, that His Holy Spirit would lead and guide each and every one of us to touch our hearts, to say, regardless of what's happened in the past as far as what was said in a letter or email, that means nothing compared to what we're trying to accomplish here. And it is my hope and prayer that we're able to take these events and these two different groups of people that wants the same thing to come together and let's put on an event that not only Orange County, but the whole state of Florida can see and say, look what they did. Despite all the odds against them, they came together as a city. They came together and they put on this event and they did it in grand fashion besides all this bickering. So again, I'm just saying, let's come together. Let's do this the right way. And that's what I'm envisioning. We're all saying the same thing. We don't have to go back and forth with these little innuendos and insinuations about who did this and who said that. It doesn't matter. Let's come together. Let's put the HRDB together with Senator Bracy, the July Perry Foundation, and anyone else that wants to come into the city and help us put this on together. And let's do it the right way, and let's do it in grand fashion.
You have anything right now? Then I'll make some of them, Bill. You can, Rosemary, you talked already, right?
I want to ask one question after, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I think Commissioner Oliver is right on point. Everybody needs to come together. I may look at this very simplistically, but both sides here are saying the same exact thing. They want the same exact thing. The problem I see is a breakdown in communications. Each side is just not connecting. They're saying they want the same thing, but the other side is not allowing that to happen. I think egos are being bruised. I think people's feelings are being hurt, and that all needs to be put aside. If both sides in this issue that want the same exact thing get together, you could put on an awesome demonstration for the state, for the nation to see. I mean, the things that I'm hearing from both sides, they're excellent. And that's what we all want here. No one is objecting to anything at all. Everybody wants the same thing. So the problem is how do we get together and make that happen? That's the way I see it. And, you know, for someone to take the lead and someone to take the back seat, it doesn't have to be that way. The HRDB board was put together for this exact purpose. Yep. They can be the agency that collects all the other groups and information and people and put this into one big package that this city is going to be really proud of. We're proud of the HRDB. Mm-hmm. They've done a magnificent job. And I give credit to Senator Bracy and the July Perry Foundation because they want the same thing too. I don't see why they can't all work together for an outcome that we're all going to be proud of. That's my simple solution.
I just have one question. Senator Bracy, did you say something about having a presidential candidate at your event? Because that doesn't seem to fit in, if I misunderstood, because that doesn't seem to fit into the event. Sorry.
Well, you mean their event?
No, what you were talking about.
No, well, because it's the Saturday before the election, because July Perry, the spirit in which he worked was to organize people to vote. Because Florida is a battleground state, both presidential candidates will be here in the last days. Because of my connection to the party, there is a possibility to bring someone like that to honor the legacy of July Perry. And so that was in the conversations of planning this event.
Well, I had somebody ask me about that earlier.
How would you do that with social distancing? If
Yeah.
you're gonna bring
No, we
somebody
can't.
of that, I mean, it seems, again, I just wanna bring that back to perspective, okay? We're all wearing masks for a reason, and we're all 6 feet apart in October, November, December, we have no idea where we're gonna be.
Yeah.
And
Well-
the concern, what I would have, and I'm just saying this, as having the park here, to have as many people as you're referring to, the social distancing is very important to me.
We'd have to invite all of them.
Let me address that. First off, masks will be mandatory. Social distancing will be required. And what I just mentioned that just to kind of give an idea of the planning that has gone into this for months, ever since the event that we had last year. So it's still being worked out. I mean, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to have this event here in Ocoee. So all of these things, something like that is still being talked about. But regardless of what event we have, all of the guidelines set out by CDC will be followed. I guess I was just trying to make a contrast as to the plans that were in place, or the conversations that were being talked about for the event that we set out, as opposed to we're talking about a dinner and talking about the time frame is open for us to have it. So there's really no conflict where they can have their event at night and we can still put on the event. So I just threw that out there just to say how special we wanted to make it, but that may not be the case as far as having a presidential
I'm
candidate.
just saying,
Well, let me-
you're asking for 2 officers, and something that large would require more than 2 officers.
I
So
went
I'm
back.
trying
Hold
to-
on, I never asked for 2 officers.
All
And what I will say is I paid for the officers that we asked for. So again, the contrast also is that, you know, we will take care of all the costs. It's just a matter of being granted the authority by the
I'm
commission.
not picking on you, I just had, I was trying to clarify what you had said.
Commissioner.
Thank you, sorry.
I will say that I read back through some files today of some things that were written from a long time ago. And if you're gonna invite one, you better invite the other, because July Perry was a Republican. It was in that form that I read today, that most of them were Republicans. So I didn't know that either until I read that article today. But that's another thing, I just wanna get something straight. This ain't bickering, but it's something just to get information straight. And I want Chairman Crown and Chairman Maxwell wrote the proclamation, sir. They did the proclamation. Did you not? Y'all wrote the proclamation. It went through our diversity board. The diversity board did it. That's who did the proclamation. And that proclamation was brought to the commission, and the commission voted on it. It was these guys that did the proclamation. So I don't know where these stories come from, but that's another thing. All right, we gotta come up with it.
No,
I
that's
will
not,
say-
that's incorrect.
Let me finish, I'll let y'all talk.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'll let you talk.
Go ahead.
But what we're gonna do, we're gonna move on, because we've been here long enough on this item. We're gonna decide what we're doing. All I will tell you is, I don't have a problem with them working with July Perry Foundation, but we need to get things straight. And you can keep saying it is or it ain't, but when you get the paperwork, if anybody wants me to give them out, I'll send them out to the public. There is stuff that's been written and said that shouldn't have ever been said. You can read mine, and it wasn't nothing bad. It was something it was good stuff. But this group that we put in, Commissioner Fershner with the city, and Commissioner Wilson, Commissioner Brinson, and Commissioner Oliver, is what our city group does. And it's up to them to work with them to put them in there if that's what they want to do. We give them the authority to do that. And yeah, there is a budget. We talked about it before. We talked about it once before, about $15,000. We just hadn't voted on that because the budget comes up in about a month. And that's when we put it in. We'll put it in because November is next year's budget, not this year's budget. So that will be involved in it. Go ahead.
Mayor, I'd like to respond to Commissioner Oliver's questions to me. If you reference back to 2007, I don't recall what it was that you asked specifically.
It was not necessarily an ask. I only just made reference to your speech when you said that it was was it 2007, that you were actually there with descendants. Something happened, there was an event you were at, and I was only saying that you have done a lot. I was only making a comment, not a question. It was simply a comment based on your speech, saying that you were actually back there starting in 2007 and some of the things that you've done. I was only making reference to what you've done, that's all.
Okay, let me just clarify that in about 10 words. It's been a progressive effort, because in 2007, there was no mention in the city of Ocoee at that time about a memorial or a marker talking about the 1920 massacre. The first step was the enactment and the acquisition of what everyone believed to be the African American cemetery. And that dedication ceremony took place right here on Clark Road at Ocoee Oaks Church on 10 November. And that is the time that I became involved with anything that has evolved to this point. We went from the memorial marker on the ground up at Basking Ridge Court to the conceptualization in conjunction with the Equal Justice Initiative group, constructing, designing, developing, and unveiling a marker both in Orlando for July Perry and here in the city of Ocoee for all of the victims of the event. And it's been a progressive step. It's what I've tried to point out. Mm-hmm. One led to the other. I've maintained somehow continuity from that point up until this time. Yeah, and that's what I mean when I say it's near and dear to me. Now, with regards to the budget, sir, if you'll recall, when I presented the program last December, I presented a preliminary budget considering all of the operational aspects of what it would take to execute this event here today. And I've continuously revised and worked on that budget, and I haven't published it for the sake that it was incomplete.
Correct, that was December 2019.
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, well, thank you so much, and you're right. Again, it wasn't a question. It was just simply I wanted to point out the work that you've put into this thing since 2007. That's all it was. Okay. So I think that we can get to the business at hand right now. Let's see about coming up with some type of a vote or consensus as to allow both organizations to work together. I think Senator Bracey is working on 2013, October 31st, an event. HRDB has obviously some things that you want to do coming from the 31st through the 8th. So I say that let's put all this together, let's vote on this thing, and let's move on in our agenda.
Let's get it straight on the dates. Don't say the dates till they say it. Tell us the dates that you've asked for.
Well, I just want to make one comment, if I may, that we don't be redundant, and therefore we need somehow to sit down and have some communication that establishes the order of priority and who does what. I don't want to, all of our people, we're volunteers, and we don't get compensated. We do what we do because we love this place and we love what we're doing.
Again?
But my time, my efforts are very important to me and my family, and I would hate to be duplicating some effort that Senator Bracey and his group is working on. So I think a coordination meeting is necessary.
Bill, let me make a suggestion. If we give it to the diversity board, they can go with Senator Bracey's group and sit down and come up with the things they can do. It's our diversity board's in charge of it, and they can work out what they can do with July Perry Foundation. And that's what we got to do.
I think right now the important thing is just simply let's solidify the dates. That's all. We don't have to go into any operational meeting as to who does what, who's doing what, how they're doing it. I think right now all we simply need to do is say, yes, let's just go ahead on and designate October 31st, along with Senator Bracey, HRDB board, all the way through November 8th. These are the dates that we're going to use to recognize the memorization of the 100-year celebration or memorial of the Ocoee Massacre.
They've asked for October the 30th through the 8th. Now, if we do it with them doing it like our commission had said they were in charge of it, now we can vote on it tonight with the dates. The dates will be them, and then they can work out the time. If they're not gonna use a Saturday during the day, let them work it out with July Perry Foundation. That's their doings. It is their group to do that, not us. So
Yeah,
that's
this
what I'm
was-
saying. They're taking it from the 30th to the 8th. Then they'll figure out the dates, and they can sit down and work out the dates for Senator Bracey's group or July Perry group, whoever's in charge of that.
I
don't
think
know.
in the interest of just clarity for everyone, I think that we're saying the same thing. And
No.
again, I believe that, again, there's nothing wrong with the dates that you chose, but I also would like to infuse Senator Bracey's celebration in with what you guys are doing on the 31st as well. That's all.
Well,
What do you guys say to that, Mr.
that's-
Maxwell?
That's not the same thing I said, Commissioner. I said they will be the ones deciding when they're gonna use the dates and not use the dates, and then they can work it out. And they got plenty of time between July and November to work out the dates with the July Perry Foundation.
Can I say something? It was made clear at last year's event that when we talked about collaborating, they simply said, we want you to cancel your event.
I
So,
couldn't hear.
excuse me?
I didn't hear what you said.
Yeah, they want, their participation with me was, you need to cancel your event.
But that ain't what we're talking about now, sir.
I know, but I know, but
Yeah.
hold on,
I
but
know.
what I'm saying is that if they are deciding, my feel is that they don't want this event to happen. They have a totally different idea of how the 31st should be spent. And so I would ask, I would like to work with them, but if we cannot agree, I would like to have the ability to have a different event. If they come at me like they did last year, where they just say, hey, can you just cancel
That's
your event
not-
altogether?
Senator, that's not what they've just said.
I
That's
don't
not
know
what
when
they're
that
saying.
occurred.
You know? That's not what they're saying.
Are you guys open to having the 31st, have Senator Bracey's event on the
They didn't
31st?
say that either.
Is the HRDB open to that?
I don't have a problem with that.
Great.
But I'm confused in terms of when we said cancel your event, and
Okay, yeah,
I-
but
I don't wanna
we're,
get
yeah,
into-
we're past that part now. We need to
I
move forward.
understand
So
that,
let's do this. Let's say right now, is the 31st open to Senator Bracey's event?
They don't know that.
Why don't they know that?
My thought is that we want the HRDB board to be the clearinghouse, that everything goes through us. And that this way we can coordinate all the different efforts and all the different activities so that we can make sure we're not being redundant and that everything fits along with what we've been planning for so many years. We welcome every different group that wants to be part of this. That's wonderful. But we don't want other people coming in and telling us, well, this is what we're gonna do, and the heck with you, HRDB, you go.
Here's the microphone.
I think we need to have a little trust in the diversity board.
Oh, okay. All right, basically, it's, the HRDB wants to be the clearinghouse for everything. We don't want somebody else coming in saying, well, here we are, and the heck with you, you don't count, and other folks are gonna take over. We've worked too many years and too hard that we wanna work with other people. We want other people to be part of this whole week, overall week. And through all the efforts and the different events that we've got planned, we just want to make sure that it follows the vision and the mission that we have set between the HRDB and our subcommittee, and that we all move forward together. And that we can sit down together and say, yep, okay, this is what you guys want to do, how does this fit with what we're doing, and we go forward from that. That's
Yeah,
what we're asking.
I think that's asking a lot. And let me tell you why. You have your organization, HRDB, wants to put on an event in the spirit of whatever that you want to put it on. Now you're saying that if another organization wants to put on another event that's related to the commemoration, it has to be in line with your event. And that's absolutely, that's not fair to the other organization. You can't make that ask of two different organizations. I just don't see how that's appropriate.
Well,
And that's just me. That's what I'm.
Well, and that's what happened last
All
year.
right, we're gonna draw this thing to a close. Make the last comment, and then we gotta decide.
well,
Make your comments, then we're gonna get on.
I don't want to step on anybody's toes one way or the other, but you created us. We're yours. Win, lose, or draw, like it or not, you 16, 17 years ago decided who and what the HRDB was going to be for the city of Ocoee as an advisory board. And that's all we are. All we're doing is bringing to you the solutions that we believe best and will provide the best results. Because when two organizations are talking about the same thing, we don't want any possibility of a conflict that conflicts with what we're doing. We've done the research, and I'm sure many other people have. But I don't want to stand on the stage and talk about the story of Ocoee as we did at the University of Florida, as we did to the West Point Cadets Law Department, and have somebody come along and say something behind me that contradicts me. So that's why I suggest and say that we need to be on the same page.
All right, let's move on.
All
I
right,
asked
well,
the commissioners, we need to make a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Let me finish. We need to make a motion that our diversity board has asked for the 30th through the 8th, and they will work with anybody to put this on. But it's our diversity board in our town who wants to do that. So if you don't believe in them, then make the motion to do something different. But I believe that they're the ones that are supposed to be doing it. But we shouldn't have them.
Okay, I would like to make a motion that, that this commission will allow Senator Bracy to hold his event on October 31st and work with our HRDB board in holding such an event. I'd like to make that motion.
All right, I guess. I'm second. I'm not seconding. You seconding? I know.
Yeah, I'm second.
All right, now it's discussion. Here we go again. That's exactly what the point of it is. You're still not giving them the benefit of the doubt as the board. You know, if they're gonna be the ones, the board, they'll have to be the ones in charge of working with July Perry Foundation. They'll be setting the date. If they got something planned on that date, then they can't do it on the 31st. That's up to them, and that's why we said that. So,
Right.
you know, the other commissioners can sit here and not say anything, but that's ridiculous.
Well, I agree. I agree with what you said.
That's ridiculous to take our diversity board and do that.
I
So
agree.
you
I
do
agree with
what
that.
you wanna do.
I agree with that. But we also, last year, we also asked that the HRDB and Senator Bracy come together to work this thing out. And I believe we did that last year.
And they've tried.
I think both sides are saying we
No,
tried, but it didn't
I
happen.
know, but they have. I've read the letters.
Okay, but
I don't know, I didn't see his name on the letters from the July 4th, or July Perry Foundation.
so I'm not sure why you bring up July Perry when we're talking about Senator
No,
Bracy's event.
I'm saying I didn't see Senator Bracy's name
That's exactly
on
my
the foundation.
That's exactly my point.
It's,
But we said to the
two other people.
HRDB that they
Yeah.
should work with the
all right.
Senator
I
Bracy's,
made my comments, the commissioners.
and I'm trying to make mine, but you keep stepping on me, and I don't
No,
understand
no.
why. I just don't understand why.
Well, you started talking when I was talking. You know, I know it's just ridiculous that you do this and knowing that our diversity board, to me, you're kicking dirt at them, so you do what you gotta do. I think it's unfair to the diversity board. If our commissioners sit here and do that, then it's unfair. I know there's a thing here read somewhere about something that was voted on back with Pastor Nunn. He made a comment in that letter, and I'm not gonna make it because it's a comment that shouldn't be made by any group. But you got motion on the floor, and if these commissioners wanna go vote for that, God bless them. All right, motions that, Melody, read that off.
We're in the middle of
Read that
discussion right now.
Yeah,
I'll
you-
make-
you
We're in
can't
discussion
just
right now.
Jump to the
off. Well,
vote.
we'll take it all night, then go ahead.
I'll make a
I'll
comment.
start discussing again, too. Go ahead.
If I recall correctly, that about a year ago, the HRDB board came forward and set out, if not 2 years ago, a plan for this event. I remember you going at great length, Bill, Mr. Maxwell, I'm sorry, to this event. I'm a firm believer in supporting the groups that we have within the city. I'm not opposed to having other groups. I am very concerned when I hear political, because I really don't think that this is the time that we are having any political, and that's just my opinion, Senator.
I got an email from
And
Citizens.
that's a concern to me, but I also believe that you have to have one person driving. And one person driving the event, in my understanding, would be the HRDB board, because they came years ago to present this to us. And so that's a concern to me with the motion that's on the floor, because I don't want 3 driving the vehicle. We need 1 driving the vehicle, and I have to support our HRDB board because they've been here working on this for years.
I want to support my motion. My motion said collaboration. Didn't say one person, another driving over another. It said collaboration. And if you look up the definition of collaboration, that is 2 parties coming together to make a decision to move in a certain direction.
No,
But
Commissioner,
when
you
you
made
have-
read the motion
So-
off that he
But when
made.
the collaboration, I'm concerned, Commissioner, it is my opinion, that you need 1 driving the vehicle. And I think that this is, collaborating is one thing, but when you start getting the disagreements or the friction between groups, there is no one driving the vehicle. And
All
so,
right.
that's just my opinion.
Then
So you believe they cannot collaborate? Is that what you're saying?
I think we need 1 person driving the vehicle for the collaboration to take effect.
yeah, I think she's saying that will collaborate.
I think they
I
need
think
to
she
work
said, yeah.
together, but we need 1 in charge, and we have designated
I'm
we have
gonna read off
designated HRDB board as the group within the city.
This lady, I won't read her name because it was emailed in, or, why is the city, or even the other group, moving ahead with the ceremony in the midst of a co-occurring flu epidemic and raging COVID-19 pandemic in the fall of 2020? So that's the thing we're all gonna have to answer. If it happens, we can't have it. So that'll be a no-brainer. It'll have to be called off.
Yeah, I
So
agree with
that
that
was
as
a
well.
question from the citizen there. Then I had another one to know who's gonna pay for the Secret Service cost. So, all right, you have any more to say?
I support the HRDB board. We're the ones that put them together. We're the ones that tasked them with this. So I think it's only fair that we let them coordinate all the efforts that are going into this memorial ceremony. I don't want to approve any dates for any sides right now. I want to see both groups get together, collaborate, and come up with a plan before we can say, yes, this one has October 31st, this one has November 1st. I think that's only the fair way, and I think the HRDB board, who we put in charge, run this show. That's all.
All right, then the motion is still on the floor. The motion would be to give them a date. And that's what, so you can vote on it.
You would like me to repeat the motion?
You're voting to give the date certain for Senator Bracy.
Would you like me to repeat the motion?
No, she can. I hope she's got it. No.
Well, I have to allow Senator Bracy to go to this event on October 31st, and that was collaborating.
So that gives a date.
And it's in collaboration with HRDB, so basically we're all saying the same thing.
No.
In the collaboration with HRDB, so that means that when he puts his plan together, he goes to the HRDB and says,
No,
this
sir.
is what I got. Oh, yeah, that looks good, let's move forward with it. That's all it is.
That's not
It's
what the
just-
motion says.
Just that simple.
No.
That was the motion.
I know
Okay,
that.
would you like to?
I made it because I thought it up.
I know.
It came out of my brain,
I
and
know,
it
but
came out of my mouth into this
You said
microphone.
the date certain, Commissioner. If you
Yeah.
want to take the date out, just say they work with just say that Senator Bracy's July Perry Foundation works with the Diversity Board, then that works.
I did say that.
No, you put a date certain.
I put in,
You
he's
put in a
asking-
date certain.
You said
You put
to
a date
allow
certain.
Senator Bracy have October 31st to
to collaborate with HRDB
Yeah,
for
that's
their
the
date.
date
They may
certain.
have something they want to infuse together, so
Right.
why not take that date and infuse it together and come back to us?
just amend the
Just-
motion to eliminate any
Just
mention
don't
of
put a
dates at
date.
all.
They work with them and come up with the time to do it. No date.
And that HRDB.
No date.
So
Driver's seat.
you want me like to revise
He'd have
my
to,
motion?
you have to make an amendment to the motion.
I can revise my motion.
Well, it's already been seconded.
Okay, well, we can
You
amend
can
it.
make an amendment.
We can amend it, that's fine.
Well, can I?
All right, amendment. One of y'all need to make it, Rosemary, or Commissioner Wilson, or first one, you need to make an amendment to it that there's no date certain, that they work with the
Hold on.
the Diversity Board.
No need to amend. I would prefer the 31st. It seems clear that you want them running the ship, which is appropriate, and that's fine. She's made it clear that her vision having a solemn event is how they would like to do it. I think our visions have been different, and they made it clear if that vision is not a solemn kind of event, then they aren't really interested. So, you know, I can remove my event. I want to have it on the 31st. If that's not possible, I appreciate it, and I'll move on from there.
I will also say something, what you said there. I'm gonna ask our lawyer to take the address off here. If we don't use these addresses, I'm gonna tell them to take it off. We don't
Excuse
use
me?
the addresses, take it off. You know, I don't know how to.
I'm
do
not
it
going to
there.
give my address
I
in
don't know.
public
I'm
when
gonna
it's
ask them to take it
televised.
off. If we don't need them, we don't use, put them on there.
That's your business.
Okay, all right. So-
We have a motion on the floor.
We got a motion on the floor.
Well,
Y'all,
was distinguished the 31st, but Senator Bracy just removed himself the 31st.
Well, no,
No, he did not say
I would
that.
prefer the 31st.
He
So-
prefers it.
Okay,
But again, it's up to the HRDB to say, would you be willing to work with him for the 31st to come together with, to put these visions together, to line up together and put on this event?
that's why you have to amend the motion to say, no date certain, but they will work together with the collaboration to get it, see if they can come up with something.
How about the same motion, date to be determined?
That's the same thing I just said.
okay, no,
Okay.
it would be, okay, I'm getting,
It's the same thing I said.
there's a lot of confusion here, because what I want to see is, I want to see the HRDB board in
Yeah.
charge of the events,
That's
and
right.
them to determine what events are going to happen
Yeah.
on these dates from October 30th to November 8th.
Yeah,
Okay, but I feel as though what your motion, or your change, your motion is that we would give the 31st to a group, no matter what HRDB
Yep.
says. And I'm a little confused, and I guess I want to make sure that's very clear, because I want to see this go in the direction that HRDB is planning an event for us to educate the community, for us to understand
It's
what
memorial.
happened, to commemorate the event. As I say, we heard education was not, people did not know what happened. And again, we need, our history of our Ocoee is important, and that's what I feel as though HRDB's direction is. And-
Again, I attended the July and November event last year.
Mhm.
There was a lot of educational comments and speakers that went up there. The families were there, and they talked about that. There was, between what was going on as far as the education was concerned, there was some entertainment to kill some dead spot. But yes, there was some education that was actually going on there. I didn't see any bounce houses at all. I didn't see no bounce houses. I was there.
I see.
It was a stage. There were speakers that came up that educated the public about July Pier, about the Ocoee Massacre. There was some, again, entertainment. There was some people that sung some songs, and it was a very peaceful event. Even then, there was some social distancing, but it was an event that I think that we can come together and put on this event with Senator Brace's office, HRDB. Let's come together. Let's put on this event. Again,
all right.
dates to be
Let's go.
determined. Dates to be determined. Let's come
The
back
dates.
and say, here is a plan to put on these events from 31st all the way through November 8th. And let's bring this thing home, and let's just put it together. Let's do it.
the motion will be, you're making an amendment to the motion, the date certain. There is no date certain. It is an open time for the collaboration to happen if the diversity board can work with the July 4th and get it done to his thing. Now, he's saying they don't want it except that day, so he's putting the emphasis on them. They have to give it to him that day, or he's not gonna do it.
Well, that's not what I heard. What I heard was that he would like to work with them for the 31st date, the October 31st date, but he did say he would actually be interested in collaborating with them to put the event on.
That's the only day you
That's
can
what I heard.
use, right, Senator?
That's the day I would
Yeah,
prefer.
that's what it said. All right, so if you vote yes, then you put a date. If you vote
No,
no,
if we vote yes, I said to be determined.
that's amendment then. You're gonna have an amendment.
So I will make an amendment to let me finish.
All right,
I will make an amendment to my motion to state that we approve the collaboration of Senator Brace and HRDB to come up with a program on a date to be determined.
Yeah.
Collaboration to be determined. No dates, collaboration.
So
Very
We
simple.
already,
the collaboration remains
We
the
already
same
said
as
that.
the original motion. You're just removing the October 31st.
That's all I'm doing.
there's no date.
Right.
There's no
To be
date.
determined. Date to be determined.
I'm gonna vote, I'm just gonna tell you right now, I'm going to vote no.
No.
Because I think there's too much confusion here. I don't like that, I guess I don't understand the second part to the first part. And of course, my opinion is, I wanna see HRDB in charge of the event and plan and work with the other groups, but I want them to be, as I said, the driver's seat. So I'm sorry, but I have to say no to what you're doing, because I'm very confused as to, we get later on and we find out that we gave permission for certain groups to have certain dates when there's a little confusion there, so
Nope. When they
I'm
came-
just
when they
confused.
come
Well,
back to us-
let's
When they
vote.
come back to us, the HRDB will come back and say, I've worked with Senator Brace's office, this is what we've worked out. So there's no confusion about what I'm saying at all. I'm speaking English here, and I'm speaking it very clearly. And I've actually made the motion and came back with a revised motion,
Well, I'm
taking the
trying to
dates
get a
out.
second, if you'll let me. I'm
Okay.
trying to get a second.
Okay,
If
restate,
not, we'll
Okay.
go with the first motion.
let's restate the motion for the record.
Yeah.
All right, the original motion was to allow Senator Bracy's event on October 31st with direction to the HRDB board to work collaboratively with Senator Bracy and the Perry Foundation for other activities that week. The amended motion is to remove the October 31st date, but it keeps in the direction to HRDB board to work collaboratively with Senator Bracy and the Perry Foundation.
There you go. That's the motion.
Yeah, all right, there's no date mentioned at all, no proposed dates, what he just said. It's just open for them to go and work in collaboration with the July 4th Foundation.
So HRDB is in the driver's seat,
Huh?
so I second it.
I can-
Okay, and did you say adding HRDB is in the driver's seat?
Yes,
No, I didn't say that.
I-
Okay.
said, and,
but that's not their motion.
Okay,
Well, with them-
there's a motion with this as,
We'll have to make another
Attorney
motion
Cook.
after this motion, I can't. All right, do you need to go with Commissioner Oliver's motion about that without the direction of the diversity board being the driver's seat, as they're calling it?
No, we're going on the amended motion, so there's only really one motion, right? We're going
No,
to.
you're
So
voting
you gotta vote,
That's all we're working with, Scott?
You're just gonna vote on the amended motion.
That's it.
To
That's all we're
remove,
voting on,
to
one
remove
amended
the
motion.
date.
okay.
the amended motion does not say that they're driving the car or driving the
Right,
truck.
I said,
or driving
I brought that confusion in, I apologize. Attorney Cookson is
It's-
already
so-
stated the motion. I
All
said,
right,
I think
let's
it's time
make
to
it-
vote.
All right, let's make it clear, though. Is it well, then they'll need to make a motion after this. We'll need to make another motion that they're in charge if we don't put it in this motion.
well, if this one doesn't pass.
Do you want to put that in that motion, that they're in charge of the diversity board's in charge?
I think the amended motion covers everything.
No,
I think
no.
that the amended motion states that
All right.
they're
let's-
gonna
all right,
collaborate.
All right, we'll
The
vote on your
HR
motion,
HRDB
Then we'll do a no.
The HRDB will
All
come
right.
back with
All
their
right.
collaborative efforts.
All right,
and
we're gonna
present to
vote
us.
on that motion that he proposed, then we'll need to make another motion. We can make that what Commissioner Wilson said.
Wait. I'm real confused now. I agree with what Commissioner Oliver is saying, but I also agree with Commissioner Wilson. We need a clear motion, because I want to hear that they're in charge as
Well, that's what I just said, Commissioner.
Okay.
How you get confused about it? I just said that.
Okay.
I mean, we go all night talking about this motion. The motion you gotta understand is, if you don't put the directions of what Commissioner Wilson says, you're gonna have to make another motion. And he's not putting that in the motion.
Okay,
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 You said you wanted to go with the diversity board, so that's not in this motion.
okay,
My
okay.
motion does include the diversity board.
No,
My
no.
motion puts the
Let's
diversity,
vote.
because
Let's
Senator
vote.
Bracy's not gonna come back with a plan.
I'm
The
gonna-
HRDB's gonna come back with a
Make-
plan to
Vote,
present to
all in
us.
favor of
The-
Commissioner Oliver's motion,
The-
say aye.
Let me finish. The HRDB's gonna come back with a plan.
Well, we
The-
just.
Senator Bracy's not coming back with a plan. The
All
HRDB's
in
coming
favor?
back with a plan as a result of the collaboration with Senator Bracy and the HRDB board.
The
It's-
motion-
That's very simple.
We're voting on the motion. The motion
we're
is,
voting on the amended motion.
huh?
The amended motion.
First, we
The
vote on the
amendment
amendment.
the amendment motion that says, that doesn't state that the diversity board's in charge. So, all in favor of that motion, say aye.
The amended motion?
Yeah.
The amended motion is to remove October 31st.
But it doesn't state that what Commissioner Wilson's stating. If you want to do that, then you're going to have to make another motion after this motion. So vote, the motion's on the floor, but
The amended
you
motion
made-
is on the floor
you
to
vote
just simply
aye.
take the date out, allow them to
Alright.
collaborate, and allow.
I'm gonna cancel that motion if we don't vote, because it's been hanging on the floor too long. So,
Can I restate my amended motion? Is that
You done
okay
made
within the
an
rules?
amendment
I just
to the
want to restate the amended motion. Is that okay to do that?
You want me to restate it?
No, is it okay if I restate the amended motion?
That's up to the mayor.
yeah, I'll listen. Go ahead.
Is that okay with the rest of the commission? if
Yeah, I'd
we
like
do
to
that?
hear it. I'm at times confused.
I'm gonna say it real slow.
I can
I
understand.
don't think that matters.
I'm gonna say it really, really slow. Melanie, make sure you get this, okay? I would like to make a motion that this commission accepts the collaboration between the HRDB board and Senator Brace's office to put on an event on a date to be determined, where the HRDB board will come back with a recommendation as a result of said collaboration.
All right, I'm gonna make an amendment to that motion,
Mike,
but I gotta have a second.
But we got now.
Because
two
you did
motions.
not still say the diversity board is running the thing.
How many motions
So,
do we have?
here, let me have it. You've got an amendment on the floor, we voted for it. I asked 3 votes. Now, if I to do what you said to start with.
I stated the
Did you
amendment,
vote on it, Commissioner?
Are we ready to vote?
I gotta get a voice
I'm
vote.
sorry, go ahead.
Are you looking to second it or vote on it?
May I just ask a question? Could we maybe clarify, get these amendments off, either yes, no, and then if we, whatever they come up with, I'm sorry, Commissioner Brinson, I'm gonna turn around, not to look at you. That's the problem being down here.
Oh,
But if we vote, if we
Rosemary.
got so many amendments, we
Commissioner
got so
Rosemary.
many that we're
Wait a
getting confused. It's
No.
getting muddled.
No, we don't. We got one amendment. We got an amendment to the motion. We need to vote on it, and we already started voting on it.
Okay.
I've called the vote a while ago. So this is not, and I'm explaining what the motion is, that the diversity board works in collaboration with the Jadu Library Foundation. It does not say they're the ones running the show. So that's why we're voting on that, and that's what do you vote? Aye? What do you vote? That's the amendment.
So he's,
You didn't state what I stated. You stated something different, totally different from what I said.
No, I didn't. You said,
No,
you said for
no,
them to,
you spun it the way you wanted to spin it.
Melody, read it.
So the amended motion is to approve the collaboration between the HRDB and Senator Bracy to set up a program with a date to be determined.
All right. All right.
HRDB will come back.
Do I hear a second for that? That is, we already got that on there. We already got that on there. We're voting on it. So if y'all want to vote for that without that other being on it, then do it.
Vote was on the floor.
I'll second it.
All right, he's second. It's already seconded.
All in
Okay,
favor?
so we're just voting now.
All
Well,
in
he
favor?
voting on that, what he said a while ago.
Waiting on you, all in favor?
All in favor? I said, it. Say
All in
aye.
favor, say aye. Aye.
There you got 2 ayes. And is the other 2 noes? And then
No.
we put it in the thing?
No.
No. So now we got to vote again, make another motion.
All right, I'm out
All
of here.
right,
Thank you, Mayor.
Commissioner Wilson?
We have another amended motion that we have to clear.
No, we didn't make that one.
We have the first motion that was made,
We got to make the first.
that you amended, so
The
don't we have
first
to go
motion,
back?
the first motion is no, because we
No.
actually just voted on the
You
amended
need to
motion.
vote on
Okay.
amended motion. Now you can make your motion.
My motion.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, the motion that I want to make is that the events from October 31st to November 8th be coordinated by, let me clarify this, make sure, Scott, can you help me with that? I want them to be in the driver's seat, for all events that will happen during that period of time. Is that, Scott, is that what's the best way to
Yeah,
state
so,
that?
so you're designating October 31st to November 8th for the HRDB board to coordinate all programs and efforts.
Thank you. Okay, thank
All
you,
right.
that's my motion.
All right, that's your motion?
That's my motion.
Here's a second.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Ferstner. All in favor of the motion made by Commissioner Wilson, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Opposed, no.
Okay, motion carries. All right. Whew, Lordy, mercy. All right, so now y'all, still try to get a hold of Dr. Nunn or Reverend Nunn. He's with the July 4th
I hope you can work with all the
July
groups
period.
and put on a
Foundation.
program that we, as in the city of Ocoee, will be very proud of.
Yeah,
Thank you, Commissioners.
thank you very much. All right, is it okay if commissioners, if we bring all these people in that doesn't have anything on the agenda, that we can go ahead and let them talk
One at a time, but.
one at a time?
Please
If they're
allow.
still here.
We do have
Yeah.
public, the two members for the public hearing have been waiting.
I'm ready for them.
Hey, can we take a
Number 10, to 5-minute break.
5 minutes max? Thank you.
Well, we got Dorcas is still here.
Yeah.
Is she still here?
They're still here.
That was more than a little.
We got 5 minutes. Keel?
Come on, Richard, let's move.
Where's
this
Keel?
thing along.
All right. All right, guys. Item number 10, we're starting back the meeting.
Yeah, that's in, they shut it off in the booth. That's in the booth.
Testing, 2, 3, 2. I know, it's habit.
You can come down to these two chairs, these two seats up here. Or are you gonna do it back there? All right, stay there, I'm sorry. I forgot we got that back there now. All right, Keel, go ahead. We're gonna do the memory care colleges preliminary and final large-scale site plan.
Oops.
Test.
Mike's not on.
No, it's off in the TV.
Uh-oh.
What number are we on, 10?
Somebody in the TV room, turn on the
Okay.
mics.
Somebody at the TV room.
Somebody tap. Yeah, somebody's there, I see it.
They've got you on the monitor, I can see you on the,
You see yourself waiting.
no, I can see him on the
No, I see
monitor
it,
in
yeah.
there,
Test.
but
Go.
does Tim have the mics on?
Rap on that window.
There we go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're,
All right. All right.
see, that's it. I was waving. I thought it was me waving.
It's on you. Go.
Good night, Mayor, Commission. Keel Gadgetar for the record. The item in front of you tonight is a large-scale preliminary final site plan for a project called the Memory Care Cottages of Ocoee. It's located at 1900 East Silver Star Road. The parcel is located north of Silver Star, east of Ohio Bay Drive, and south of Ada Mims Road. So a little overview. The applicant is proposing a 5-building memory care assisted living facility. It'll consist of 4 residences, 4 residence buildings, and 1 commons building. It's going to be 1 story. There's going to be a 15 to 25-foot landscape buffer around the entire perimeter of the parcel. The main access will be off of Chihiro Shores Road with an emergency access off of Old Silver Star Road. The emergency access is only for that emergency access. 99% of the time it will not be used. The property is currently vacant and undeveloped, as you can see in the aerial above. The property is surrounded by single-family dwelling zoning to the north, south, east, and west. The parcel is zoned for R1AA, which is a residential zoning. An assisted living facility is a permitted use within that zoning and would be consistent with the surrounding zoning. Here you have to the north unincorporated Orange County. And you have Temple Grove Estates subdivision, Silver Bend subdivision, Ohio Bay subdivision here, and then the New Ocoee Landings PUD subdivision here. The parcel is also in line with our future land use. It is considered low density, which is consistent with all the yellow, which the parcel is surrounded by. What you're seeing here is a site plan that's overlaid over the aerial. So as you can see, these are the 4 residence buildings, common buildings, parking. Here's retention to the east and to the south. The main access off of Ohio Road is right here. And then the emergency access, which will be gated, is right here. If you notice, a lot of the commercial side of things are going to be to the south of the property, and most of the residential type use, such as the residence buildings, are to the north, where there's those neighborhoods to the north. The property or the parcel will be heavily landscaped. Around the entire perimeter, there's a 25 to 15-foot buffer. A lot of the existing trees here off of Silver Star Road are to remain, as well as replanting. The buildings are heavily landscaped as well, with decorative fencing around each of the residential buildings. So the public requested in our P&Z meeting a rendering of what the north would look like, looking down to the subdivision. So if you're looking at down from Old Silver Star Road, this is what it would look like with the landscape and the resident buildings. And here are some others showing internally what the development would look like. As you can see, there's a lot of landscaping. It's aesthetically pleasing. A traffic study was done. It's going to produce less traffic than a typical residential because you're going to only have the staff changes at off-peak hours, as well as just whatever visitors you have, as opposed to the peak hours you'd have from residential. There was an environmental study done as well. If you have any questions on that, the applicant's here to answer that. This is the decorative fencing I mentioned around some of the buildings. Our DRC, Development Review Committee, met. They had no issues and recommended approval for the development. The Planning and Zoning Commission met as well, and they had a couple questions, which they then voted unanimously to recommend approval. And staff does not object and supports the proposed site plan because it is consistent with the surrounding communities. And with that, I can take any questions, and the applicant is also here as well if you have any questions.
Any questions before I open the public? We need a public hearing, right, Commissioner? You got anything to read to?
No.
Okay. Anybody have any questions of the, that's the property, was gonna be a church at one time.
I don't know the backstory, but I've heard that there was supposed to be a church there.
Yeah, you're correct.
Yeah, long time ago. All right, nobody else got any questions?
I have one question. I'm sorry, go ahead, your district then.
Just a quick question. You mentioned there's two egresses, right? One would be gated.
So to the north here is an emergency access that would not be used 99% of the time. It's for police, fire, those type uses. It's going to be gated with a knock box, I believe, for police and fire. The main entrance and exit would be right here off of Ohio Road.
Okay. And you also have,
I'm sorry.
you have the fencing along Silver Star?
No, the fencing is only around the buildings itself. Around the perimeter of the parcel, there's landscaping.
Landscape.
25 to 15-foot landscape buffer with, trees, shade trees, things like that.
Okay. Thank you.
Anybody else? Commissioner Wilson?
Just one question, and this has nothing to do with really the building itself. Do you ever project that corner at Ohio Shores and Silver Star is ever gonna have a light? Has that been discussed? I mean,
There was
it has nothing to do with the item that you're before us, just I'm looking at long range.
I believe there was a traffic study done, and it did not call for a traffic signal at that intersection.
Okay. That's just a tough that's just a tough intersection.
Right, the applicant does meet, they do meet the intersection requirements, distance from intersection for the entrance on both Old Silver Star Road and Silver Star Road. But a traffic study was done with this project.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else before I open the public hearing? I'm gonna open the public hearing if the applicants want anything to say, you don't have to.
No, just thank you for seeing this. Chuck Pigeon with Pigeon Robertson Associates, 925 Southeast 17th Street, Ocala, Florida. If you do have any questions, we'll be glad to answer them. This has been about a 2-year process of getting the project to this point, and we appreciate all the staff's assistance and all the guidance, and you do have a really good staff at your city to respond back to us. It's been a pleasure working.
Glad to have you here. Thank you. All right. Anybody have any questions of the applicant? All right, we'll close the public hearing and bring it back to the podium. Somebody make a motion.
Do we have to wait 3 minutes for people to call in? Is that the?
No, because the doors are now open and the public
They-
has
I've
the
had
ability.
I've had their,
And the phone number was posted on the agenda if anyone wanted. We did receive 2 emails, which the mayor did receive and read for the item before.
Okay,
Those
no,
were
I
the
just,
only 2.
old habits are hard to break at this point.
In the beginning, he did read it and he gave the phone
Yeah.
number and
Okay.
I read it out to start with.
Okay.
All right,
I'll make that motion that we approve the item number 10, the memory care cottage preliminary final large-scale site plan.
all right. Motion made by Commissioner Oliver. Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Commissioner Wilson. Any more comments? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Welcome. All right. Number 11, first reading of ordinance creating a new chapter 176 of the Code of Ordinances for fertilizer management, political, grass clippings and vegetative material debris and pet waste, and further adoption of resolution amending the fine and fee violation schedule.
This is an ordinance of the City of Ocoee, Florida, creating a new Chapter 176 in the City of Ocoee Code of Ordinances, enacting a fertilizer management, grass clippings, and vegetative materials, debris, and pet waste chapter, regulating application of fertilizer to lawns and turf in the City of Ocoee, providing for definitions, providing for seasonal restrictions on fertilizer application, providing restrictions for fertilizer constituents, phosphorus and nitrogen, providing for restrictions in rates of fertilizer application, providing for training requirements for commercial applicators of fertilizer, providing for grass clippings and vegetative material debris and pest waste management, providing for exemptions, providing for enforcement, providing for severability, providing for codification, providing an effective date.
All right, you read both of them, resolution 2, is that,
That's not a public hearing.
it's not, I know it, not, do you need to read them both?
I don't have that
We didn't
resolution.
print out the title because we
You
didn't.
just gonna read it at the public hearing?
Yes.
All right, all right. Then we move on.
Before-
This will be brought back, on August the 4th for the second reading in the public hearing.
All right, Mayor, before we go to the second reading, or before we move on to the second reading, on this particular item, I need to know if it's, in the interest of moving this forward, I need to know if there's any way that we can consider adding something to this particular ordinance. And that would be looking at how we either manage front yard vegetable gardens, or how we, either we're gonna prohibit them, or if we are going to allow citizens to have front yard vegetable gardens, how can we manage them, or at least put something in place that will hold them accountable for the look of that front yard vegetable garden?
Commissioner, if that's something that y'all want to do as a commission, we could have staff put together a separate ordinance for that, perhaps somewhere else in the city code or land development code. This is being moved forward because this was a requirement that was put on us for our 20-year consumptive use permit for our water consumption, basically. And it's taken us quite a while to get to this point. So I understand your concern with that. That could probably fit somewhere else in either the land development code or the city code. And staff could certainly, we have the skill to write something like that up. It'd probably be better not put it in here because this was dealing strictly with, fertilizers and phosphorus content and that type of thing for water quality. That was pretty much put upon the city as a requirement for our consumptive use permit that we got a couple of years ago.
Well, that's fine, because when I read it, you talk about grass clippings, you talk about fertilizing, so it seemed to fit within the realms of this particular ordinance. But again, if staff can come up with some other orders that can speak to front yard vegetable
And we could
gardens.
certainly do that if we had a consensus. We could put something to that together for you to consider at some point in the future.
Yeah.
We don't have an issue with that. This was a very regulatory ordinance dealing specifically with, fertilizer and phosphorus levels leaking into waterways and lakes and that type of thing.
Gotcha, okay. Is that something that we would consider as a commission to put an ordinance together where either we're going to prohibit or are we going to put something in place that people can manage a front yard vegetable garden, which seems to be popping up all over the place these days. And some residents are okay with it, some are not okay with it. So, but we don't have, as of right now, that we don't have any ordinances that would state how a person would manage a front yard vegetable garden, or or if it's prohibited or not.
Yeah, and luckily we have not had to deal with that yet. The point will come when someone does that, and we'll be trying to figure out how to handle it.
Right now, but I don't know what to tell the other residents to say about it. I mean, they're doing it, and we have nothing to state that how we manage it or control it, or what a city ordinance would say about it.
You've got a couple residents that doing that?
Yeah, I have at least 3.
Really?
Yeah, and one in a pretty upscale neighborhood.
I'm surprised the HOA allows it.
Well, one doesn't have an HOA,
Oh, okay.
and the other HOAs are silent on it. So they're looking for the city to come up with something to say, hey, how do we manage this thing?
Yeah, I think, and it's probably a little more complicated than we think too,
Yeah.
because there's standards in the land development code as to what you must put in your front yard, i.e. grass and trees and that type of thing. So making an ordinance like that is going to impact on other ordinances that we currently have within the land development code. So That's something that we would have to look at, those requirements as to, you must put in 4 trees and you must put in grass and that type of thing.
Well, it's something that you guys can look into and bring it back and see what you come up with.
All right, you gonna bring that back, right?
We can do that. Scott, did you have any comment?
No,
on-
we'll look into it and see what the requirements are, what other municipalities and counties are doing with that.
All right, this one will come back first on the August the 4th. Item number 12, first reading of ordinance amending chapter 164, restoration, maintenance, and security of abandoned real property.
All right, this is an ordinance of the City of Ocoee, Florida, amending Chapter 164 of the City of Ocoee Code of Ordinances, revising and updating language relating to penalties, revising and updating language relating to the registration of abandoned property, providing for applicability and severability, providing for codification, providing an effective date.
All right, same thing. It's be coming back on August where's it at? August the 4th. For the second reading. All right, we go into item number 13. First reading of ordinance for Ocoee Landing, PUD, 1842 East Silver Star Road. Substantial amendment to the plan unit development. All
right, this is an ordinance of the City of Ocoee, Florida, approving a substantial amendment to the land use plan for the Ocoee Landings PUD land use plan for certain real property comprising approximately 6.84 acres located north of East Silver Star Road and south of the Ohio Bay subdivision pursuant to the application submitted by the property owner. Amending the Ocoee Landings PUD LUP and preliminary subdivision plan to allow automobile repair and car wash as approved uses to the PUD, finding consistency with the Ocoee Comprehensive Plan, repealing inconsistent ordinances, providing for severability, providing for an effective date.
right, same thing. It will be coming back for the second reading on August the 4th. All right, item number 14, first reading of ordinances for Ocoee Village Center PUD, substantial amendment to the plan unit development.
All right, this is an ordinance of the City of Ocoee, Florida, approving a substantial amendment to the land use plan for Ocoee Village Center PUD for certain real property containing approximately 73.17 acres located on the north and south sides of Claricona-Ocoee Road, east side of State Road 429 Expressway, north, south, and east sides of North Lakewood Avenue, and at the eastern terminus of Fuller's Cross Road and North Lakewood Avenue, finding consistency with the Ocoee Comprehensive Plan, repealing inconsistent ordinances, providing for severability, providing an effective date.
All right, same deal.
No,
It
not the
No.
same deal.
No,
Yeah.
wait a minute.
Date for second reading.
This is the second, huh? No,
Or-
this is
We don't have a set date for the second
We
reading.
don't
We'll
have it?
We'll have to advertise that.
Oh, okay, so it will be determined for the second reading. Okay. All righty, second hearing of ordinances, we have none. Regular agenda, none. Staff actions, which we didn't talk about earlier.
The only thing I had, Mayor, was, and I'm not sure if one of you are going to discuss it or not, but it seems like after we have a meeting, the governor extends the executive order as far as whether we're allowed to have in-person meetings or streaming meetings. So that's kind of why we're here tonight. We had agreed to have this meeting as an open meeting because his executive order did not cover this date. And then subsequently, he extended the executive order. So we just need some direction to staff. If before the August 4th meeting, the governor extends the executive order, how do you want to have that meeting? It expires August 1st, the executive order right now. So right now, our August 4th meeting will be an open meeting again, but as he's done in the past, I wouldn't doubt that there's some type of executive order that would be extending our ability to stream meetings into August or later.
Commissioner Wilson.
I was just writing something about this because I wanted to say something about it. That it concerns me. I know that we've had issues where we've had to have someone come in and clean the microphone each time someone's come forward. With the numbers changing drastically every day, and if he does change, again, the executive order came after we had our last meeting. I tend to want us to err on the side of caution, and I would tend to want to give the city manager the authority to, if the executive order changes, that we go by, is it streaming, internet streaming, the next meeting? Because I think we had discussed it at one time, if I'm correct, Mr. Cookson, that
Yeah.
mayor would have to be here, or he would be the one running the meeting.
Right.
And then we would be by, I don't want to call it the names that we use it, but whatever the streaming service is, and then giving you the authority to call that after as the executive order, call the situation after the governor has made the executive order, or change the executive order.
I do have a recommendation on that. If we could set the meeting, assuming the August 1st does not get extended, so the meeting would be just like today, where people would come in and present. But in our advertisement for the meeting, we say it's subject to change based on the governor's extension, so that if it does change, we can post it on the website, we can post it on the door, and then go back to a virtual meeting.
Along with the instructions on how they can participate if it is a
Exactly.
virtual meeting.
So I think that way we're kind of covering both bases. If it does get extended beyond August 1st, we're covered, we've made the announcement, and we can do it that way.
Will that cover the budget meetings too? We have one in August.
Yeah, the budget workshops are in August. September are the budget hearings. What are the dates for the?
The hearings
One's
the
August,
workshops are the 12th and the 19th, and we
You got-
voted on this tonight. August 12th and 19th is
Yeah.
the workshop, and the hearings will be held September 9th and September 22nd.
Read the August ones again,
23rd?
please.
Sorry, let me take the mask off, sorry. What we voted on tonight was the hearings will be, I'm sorry, the workshops will be held August 12th and August 19th. Let me just look at my calendar here. August
Yeah.
12th and
So
19th.
that's,
And
yeah.
then our budget hearings will be held on September 9th and the 23rd.
all right,
That's a
so
good question.
how did you want to do that?
Yeah, it'd be the same process, Mayor, if it gets extended.
Is that
If the-
everybody's consent to that? Consent to do that?
I'm,
I do. You do? You do too? How about you, Commissioner Oliver?
Yeah.
All right, consent is yes.
do we have to make
Okay,
a, do the
thank
vote,
you.
or do we?
All right,
I think that's good.
all right.
Do we give the city manager the authority at that point? Do we have to give it a time frame, or do we just say until the governor stops giving the,
Yeah,
executive
I
orders?
think if the governor does it, he'll extend it for a period of time, and whatever
Which I believe he's limited to 30 days, which is why
He
he
keeps
keeps
extending,
extending, and he
right.
doesn't just do it for the next 90 days or something. He's only has the authority to do it 30 days at a time. And typically what he's been doing is right before the 30 days expires, he extends it. But that doesn't usually fit with our schedule for commission meetings.
All right, so,
So it means you're here, Mayor, you're here, and the rest of us are all on streaming?
It's not required. You can all
You can
come
come.
if
We
you
can still be
want,
here.
but,
No public,
but if you
yeah.
want to not be here,
Yeah.
You can
we
do
can make
streaming.
arrangements
All
to
right.
do that.
Do,
Okay.
do we have a policy to talk about that?
I'm sorry?
Do we have a policy on that?
About not being present here?
What you just stated, yes.
We have the governor's order that allows, right now, the law is you have to be present in order to have a quorum. The executive order from the governor relieves that requirement, so you don't have to be present to form a quorum.
you can call.
So we don't need a policy right now, just as long as we're under the
Right,
governor's
exactly.
All right.
order. Okay.
That it, Rob? Yes. All right, can we call these people now?
Yes, you're in the lobby.
All right, Jason and Bridget Burton? Sorry about that.
Hello.
Hi there.
Hi, my name is Bridget Burton, and I live at 388 Bridge Creek Boulevard in Ocoee. I'm here to complain about trees being cut down at the water treatment plant, which basically it's, when you look out our backyard, now we see the two big towers where, the two big tanks, and we used to see trees that butt up against our privacy fence, and last week, they basically sheared off a bunch of limbs, so now we have this lovely view of the two beige tanks. I know it's not on our property, but it's kind of an eyesore. So I would like to complain about that.
Steve, is the public works director still back there? I know, but
If they're-
Steve was, some of it was going with Steve and them too. I talked to both of them. Charles is still out sick, I think, so. I don't know if Steve's still here.
I have a question for you. Are there any power lines near those trees that they're cutting down?
Nope.
No power lines?
No, the
There-
branches hung a little bit into our backyard, but there's still branches that overhang the fence, but it looks like they just cut enough to like run some bobcats right up along our privacy fence. I mean, there's no road back there. They just started mowing stuff down. So we're just kind of wondering why they're doing it along the backside of our,
Did I talk to you? Didn't I talk to you? Did I talk to you? I talked to somebody.
my
Did you?
husband.
Yeah, I do know I didn't get a chance to talk to Charles, but I did talk to Steve. Some of the reasons was because of people been going back through there, and that's why they were trying to thin out some of the stuff, because they built a dock back in the swamp on the land that's,
Yeah, that's like way down.
I know,
towards
but
the-
that's why they were doing it. So one thing leads to another, so I hate to say
Yeah, we
Charles
just
is
found
still
out
out.
about that too, actually, through our community Facebook page.
Huh?
We just found out about that through our community
Yeah.
Facebook page.
So
that
Charles
somebody-
is not here, he's out sick, right, Rob? So, we pretty much need him here to give an answer to what they're doing, and it don't seem like, did Steve leave?
He's not back there.
Huh?
He's not back there.
Well, he's left too, so what we can do is we'll have the Public Works, I mean, I don't know what you want us to, you can tell us.
Well, I know he's got some more information. So
Okay.
I was gonna let my husband say the rest,
Okay.
but I
All
just,
right.
yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
I'm just curious, were the trees cut down or did they trim the trees?
They limbed up the trees, so now we have a beautiful view of the water treatment plant, whereas usually it was completely visually obstructed before. My name's Jason Burton. I live at 388 Bridge Creek Boulevard. It's a pleasure to be here tonight on for Mayor and City Commissioners. I really thank you for hearing me out today. The trees got trimmed about 3 years ago. I emailed the city manager, the public works director, utility divisions manager, and asked them to please coordinate with the residents if they decided to do any improvements or trim the trees or do anything back there. It was about 3 years ago, and of course last week, this suddenly happened. I also made a public records request to find out what was going on. I found out that Trent Hopper, the facility supervisors, has solicited bids for a 6-foot chain link fence with a 1-foot barbed wire on top of it, a proposal for $42,000 by the city of Ocoee along the back of our residence at Cross Creek. I just don't know what to do. I mean, if you don't know, I'm also the assistant city planning manager for the city of Orlando. I've worked in public service for 26 years. I'm kind of livid and I would like to know, what is the city of Ocoee's policy for public outreach for any kind of public works project? And has that been followed in this case? Furthermore, do you actually treat public works projects the same you would private development that you just heard presentations from your own planning staff? The next thing is, what is your policy for inquiries from residents from your city staff? I don't know. My policy, at least for my staff, is that they return or at least acknowledge within 24 hours, and then within 48 hours, they actually have some sort of a semblance of an answer. So, along with that, to make it me even more livid, this week we had erroneous emails sent out from the utilities company for the city of Ocoee for water. You know, lots of my neighbors called back and they said, well, we think we got hacked. Well, did you get hacked or did you erroneously send out an email? Just get some consistent messaging with your citizens. It's just all I'm asking for. So with that, I just yield my time and thank you for hearing me out.
Well, I asked them to hold off on the fence because we need to find out about what it's for, but I do find that the problem is like I mentioned to you, and I think I mentioned to your wife, my neighbor's got a fence behind my house, and they don't tell me when they're gonna do something, so. And I think the city has the right to do what they're doing, but we also have a right to go to citizens and tell them what they're doing. And that's something that can be told to the department heads. But one of the major reasons I think they were doing that is because somebody went in, built a dock on the retention pond and the back that were going through there, and I guess kids and everybody else was going out there.
Yeah,
So,
I mean,
I know, so
I have
that's,
nothing to do with that. I just don't want to be punished for a neighbor 20
we're not,
20 yards,
Yeah,
or 20 homes
well-
down from myself. On top of that, I mean, I've heard from that neighbor that he was working with the city attorney on trying to get a right of entry, and apparently something went south, and they decided to go ahead and retaliate to do this. Just, let's not punish the entire neighborhood.
well, we're not, I don't think they're trying to punch the whole neighborhood, sir. I don't, I think we,
I
like
wouldn't know
I
the
told you,
difference, sir.
we can try to make sure they notify them, Rob, city
Yeah,
manager.
we'll take a
make
look
sure
at
they
it.
know.
I know there was some talk about the fence. I'm
Yeah.
surprised they may have
I
gotten.
called you and told them to hold up.
Yeah, so they may have gotten estimates. I'll go down and I'll take a look and see what they're planning to do.
Yeah.
I mean,
Please.
we don't want, I'm not a fan
I
of
mean-
chain link. We're certainly, if
barbed
we're
wire.
bordering against, if
I
we're
mean,
bordering up
I
against
have the
residential,
document right here.
there
It's-
won't be barbed wire, okay?
Yeah.
All right. I will go down with
I
staff.
mean, it's bad
and I'll
enough
take a
that
look.
you trimmed up the trees and you have your own land development code that requires some level of buffering
Yeah.
from these types of things, and to destroy those types of buffers is just something that's not consistent with your own land development code and growth management plan.
Charles needs to be aware of it, because I know
Yeah.
he's been out sick or something, so I don't know.
Yeah, well, I'm hearing more of the story right now. I mean, the original intent was, the coverage was so thick there, people were going in and building docks on retention ponds in a conservation area. And then the request from the attorney was, can we modify and give them some right of entry into a conservation area? And our answer is no, we're not gonna do that.
course.
We're not gonna have the taxpayers pay for
I
that. either. So-
agree, I completely agree with you.
Right.
I don't live along the conservation area, I live directly behind the water towers themselves.
Yeah, we won't be putting up barbed wire. you know.
Thank you.
Okay.
And hopefully it won't
Thanks.
be a fence greater than.
Thanks for sticking around.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Thank you.
I will make sure Charles also and Steve Krug gets a hold of you and talks to you about it, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Let's see. Jim Moore. Moore, M-O-Y-O-R-E-R, Mayor. Is he out there?
Yeah.
Send him on down.
Hi, Mr. Mayor, Mayor Pro Temp, Commissioners. My name is Jim Moyer. I'm new to the area, so I want to introduce myself. I want to make a comment about operational audits, even though that wasn't the semantics that was used at the time, and also about the HR Human Relations Diversity Committee. First of all, I want to mention I have a little bit in common, I believe, with all of you. I'm a Vietnam era veteran. I'm a fellow Marine with the Mayor Pro Temp. I consider all Marines brothers and sisters. Hope you don't mind me
Hoorah.
referring to you as a brother. Commissioner Wilson, I'm into education like you. I have a doctorate in education. I've taught in various places, GED for people with addiction issues, CAPAL, if you've never heard of CAPAL, Kids in the Power of Work. It's an excellent program for children, mostly in South Florida. So I believe we have that in common. Commissioner Firstner, you have a fire background. I'm from Pennsylvania. In Pennsylvania, the vast majority of firemen are volunteers. And my family has been volunteers for 8 generations. I've seen pictures of horse and buggy firemen. So my comment about operational audits, or that's the semantics I'm using. Commissioner Oliver mentioned the possibility of doing audits of individual departments or areas or places that the commission may have an interest in looking at as a thought. Well, in my view, and this is my experience. I'm an auditor and accountant, governmental, political, et cetera, is the IIA, the Institute of Internal Auditors, is international internal auditing group that's in Lake Mary, Florida. So I first dealt with them decades ago, before I moved here, okay? But my passion, even though my experience is in accounting auditing, my passion is human relations. And I would like to eventually join your human relations and diversity group. I have 5 years on the Harrisburg, Pennsylvania Human Relations Commission. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure seeing you. God bless you.
You can get an application from that young lady right there at the city clerk's office sometime for the HR.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Nice
you.
to
Thank
see
you.
all of you in person. God bless.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, you have his contact information, I can send
Huh?
it. The contact information's on the form, I'll send it.
She said you have the contact information for her to send him the
Right here.
application.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay,
I'm gonna give it to you.
perfect.
One more,
We have to translate from mask to mask.
Dorcas Dillard.
Dorcas Dillard.
Dorcas Dillard.
Dorcas Dillard without her kids, because now the kids left because they have to be at camp in the morning. But what I wanted to talk about is that our OYC group, there's 5, we have 7 now. We have 3 seniors, so they graduated. I have their goodie bags out there to get to them. So now we have 7 standing members, and 4 of them have been participating in this STEAM camp that we partnered with the Eclipsing Innovations that we've talked to you, the pilot program that they started out in Ocoee, Ocoee High School with the ROTC members in our group. I have been participating in the camp last week, and this is the 2nd week of it. It has been a wonderful experience, just watching our students participate in this. Today, we actually went out to MCO Airport, and we got to look at jets and planes and talk to mechanics and talk to the people who actually do everything maintenance of that aircraft. They've had 3D printing. They've had people come in to talk about computer science. Of course, military kinds of activities also. I have been was convinced to do the sewing. So I'm teaching all the kids how to make masks, because I make masks. That's my second thing here. But we've been making masks, and so they're all going to finish the week out with their own masks, and we're thinking about doing that as a kind of fundraising kind of thing through our partnership. So I'm actually here because I heard that all of the money for the internships was not used, that there was still $1,500. The place that we're actually, that Eclipse Innovation is using is out at the at the executive airport. They have a hangar, they have classrooms, they have space that I'm doing the sewing in all the classrooms and a conference room. I've donated my own refrigerator, microwave. Once I saw what they were trying to do and trying to have it as a after-school program and an enrichment camp ongoing, I just think it's just something that even our kids, because parents from Ocoee brought their kids over to the executive airport, and they've been there for 2 weeks. And it's just been wonderful. So I just wanted to be able to, because our students have been participating. Everything costs a whole lot. The food that they're providing, breakfast, lunch. We've also had people come in and donate their time. It's just been a lot of things that I think we could make this partnership with this group even be better. And I think our kids have participated in it, and I think it's worth considering. So that's why I'm here. So do you have any questions, or is there anything else?
I'll just make a comment. I have been out to the camp last week. It is fashioned as a STEM camp. And I have seen, it was a 2-week camp. I have seen social distancing in the camp. There is a strict plan where all the kids their temperature checked at least 3 to 4 times per day. There's,
4 times.
each child has their own chair that they sit in, their own seat, and no one else can sit in those seats. So I was very happy to see the social distancing plan, because I know most of the parents were concerned about social distancing in the midst of COVID and having a summer camp. The other thing that was really surprising to see, and I was happy to see as well, the kids receive a hot meal every day. There's a chef or someone that comes and cooks for the kids every single day, and I thought that was really cool. They've actually done some drone training. They've done, I think they had a helicopter out there.
Had a
Helicopter
sheriff
came out there.
Yeah, yesterday
So-
the sheriff's office came out and brought their helicopter and talked to the kids about, it's just been, for me as an adult, it was amazing. It was just amazing for the students.
There's also a math and science teacher out there as well, teaching math tips and tricks.
Toastmasters, we've had
Toastmasters.
3 sessions of Toastmasters. Oh, they
And
got up
there's
and
also
spoke.
some kind of simulator. I saw that too.
Yes.
There's some kind of sports simulator in conjunction with this camp.
Two simulators that they can, sports and activities that they can actually do. It's just amazing.
So the ask, I believe, here is that I've had some conversation with CareerSource, and they are moving forward with our summer jobs program. So there are kids that are being employed this summer. Some of the employers are utilizing social distancing, but there's other employers that had to back out because of the COVID-19. As a result of that, we designated $10,000 towards the program for summer jobs. But I did speak with CareerSource and explain to them about the summer camp and the STEM camp, and I wanted to use $1,500 to finish up the camp for this week. So what CareerSource has done is they have changed their invoice from a $10,000 invoice they would normally send us is now a $8,500 invoice, and they're making up the difference with anything else. But they wanted to designate this $1,500 towards this camp because they actually really love and enjoy what's going on with the kids in the camp. So the ask is that the commission would approve that additional, not additional, but the $1,500 that's left over from the summer camp program with CareerSource and move it to be used towards the OIC STEM camp for the remainder of this week.
Got a motion?
Do we need a motion, or can we get a consensus, Scott?
Either one.
Questions, Commissioner Wilson?
How'd you know I had a question? Okay, is this 1,500 out of our budget, or is it 1,500 out of the 10,000 that they would normally pay, that CareerSource pays for the internship? So it's no financial issue to us, it's just moving the 1,500 from the internship that CareerSource pays the city to a different account number?
Correct. Just
Correct?
moving.
The city pays CareerSource, not CareerSource.
The city pays,
pays-
so it is a $1,500 item out of our budget?
Well, right now, we have $10,000 that we designated towards the summer
Okay.
intern program. That's still sitting there. We've not gotten anything from CareerSource yet. So you still have, and I think last year at this time from CareerSource, I mean, I think we already had students in here, if
Correct.
I might be mistaken. So I think, Commissioner Oliver, you've touched base with them, and they will be sending something
Yeah,
for some type of
they've actually
program.
adjusted the invoice to $8,500.
Okay.
I think I sent your email. I'm not sure if you received it or not. You may.
I haven't
have not
seen it
went
yet,
through.
so, but you do have $10,000 there, so, the other thing I'm saying is, you can designate that $1,500, just knowing you'll have $8,500 for CareerSource.
Correct.
When and if something comes in from them.
So is the 1,500 coming out, is the 1,500 coming out of contingency?
No.
You've already
No.
budgeted.
We've
Already
already
budgeted
budgeted.
Okay, gets a little confusing again.
Yeah, it's coming out of your line item for CareerSource, which we designated $10,000 for. So you'd be reducing CareerSource to $8,500 if they come in with something.
Are these, just to clarify,
Go
would
ahead.
these be the same students that normally would have been CareerSource participants?
Only 2 of them.
Would have been
And
CareerSource?
one was actually part of the CareerSource, and then she's had some family issues, so.
So there's 2.
She couldn't do, right, so there are. Mhm. Yeah, and the other 2, and just so you know, 2 The other two are too young to be part of it because they would have been part of Career Shores, but they're not old enough. Because again, we're trying to get younger. We have 3 graduates for 1 year on OYC, and so now we've lost our beginning people. So now we're trying to get the 9th and 10th graders. So unfortunately, they were too young to participate in Career Shores, so.
Okay, when we put the money to the budget for OYC, would this be in next year's budget I get very concerned about coming back for money, because I know you at one point came and asked if we would send the kids to a drone school, and that didn't seem to fit into the
Right.
item that the direction
Right.
of nurturing community involvement, et cetera.
Right. I got you.
Would this, if you do this again, would you be putting it in next year's budget so that it would?
I would love to put it into next year's budget, just because and I wish they were here, because they were ready to introduce themselves, and both of the students that were here tonight are part of the JR or ROTC at Ocoee. One was dressed in all his gear, but anyway, because although they're interested in learning more about politics, and they got to sit here and watch what was going on here. The other part of what we want to cultivate in our youth is to make sure that they get to see all the kinds of opportunities and things that they can do. And what I found with this, the thing I was worried about was just what you said. We don't want to just do something that was drone related, because that's not, not everybody is going to be interested. But this camp gave them the opportunity not only to see things like drones, simulators, how all that stuff is put together, 3D printing, sewing, which the boys, I have to show you the picture. I can't believe the boys are every day asking, am I going to finish their math? I really didn't think that was going to be successful. So just giving people different experience, giving the kids some different experience and things has been just heartwarming.
Does some of them actually go up in any planes?
Oh, yeah. I'm getting all the good part. They need to be here so they can say that. So 2 of our students, Jose went up with a teacher, with a trainer, and flew, and so did Chelsea, who is our newest, one of our newest members, and she's actually going to be the chair for this upcoming year. So she was a 9th grader, went into 10th grade, and could not do Career Source because she would have. But yeah, she got the opportunity to fly. So they both got to fly, and one other student got to fly so far. Both of our OYC kids were able to fly. So
I think as a result of the STEM camp, it would be an excellent opportunity to use it as a marketing material to post to our 9th graders, our 8th graders going into the 9th grade. We'll be able to put together, matter of fact, they actually do have a complete video marketing plan that they're putting together to post to our 9th graders, or 8th graders going to the 9th grade, as well as the 9th and 10th graders, to promote the OIC program and show them what they did in the summer in the program. So we're able to recruit more kids from our schools to come into the program in the coming year.
And I agree. And that along with their trip to Tallahassee, or just highlights of so.
I want to see that program be successful, and I'd like to see 15 kids in it. I mean, we all would.
You made all of it, I
I'd
would
love to
too.
see every slot taken, because I think it's a great,
I think it could. Well, we have one. You all voted on our 8th
Tonight?
person today. So yeah, so she's up and ready also. So we're up to 8. So that's a good thing.
When we go to Florida League of Cities, I love to see when the kids are there.
You should have two more applications that might have came in today. Not sure if you got them or not. There's 2 more applications that should have been here in today as well.
And Rusty, I heard you mention about West Orange, and I have yet. I've reached out 2 times to West Orange. Have any kids from West Orange apply?
Maybe we keep trying. So
We
just
will.
Keep trying.
I will,
keep
but yeah, I heard you say it. I'm like, all the kids have been at Ocoee or other schools that the kids living in Ocoee.
West Orange is our school also.
Yeah, I know, but I just haven't gotten any applications, so.
All right. So how much is the fee per kid for that? How much is it?
This year it was nothing,
It's
right?
free.
But it's
So what's the
supposed to be. This year, you mean for that camp?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was supposed to be, I think it was like 300 or some number, but all of our kids were able to go for free. This is their first year really putting the 2 weeks together, so, and they were really trying to get people motivated. And the other thing I just want to tell you is Chelsea, who is our new chair, she actually helped, and I have the flyer, she helped develop the flyer. She kept in contact with all the students, not only OYC, but just doing the social media on it. I was just impressed with the whole. She really got involved in it, and she got the students to come every day during the camp. She's already taken a take charge attitude already, and so I'm just really excited about the whole thing. So I think it was just a good, almost like the end of the year kind of activity to get them ready for our new year. So
Somebody do what?
make a motion.
What do we need? What
I'm still,
you said, what do they need?
What is the
what's-
1500?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to figure out
Oh,
now.
okay.
what's
Okay.
the 1,500 for? That's what I keep asking. Tell me.
That's actually to run the camp for this week. They've
For the
actually
rest
had
of the week.
sponsors-
Ah.
They've had sponsors for the last
Right.
weeks
Oh, I
without
see, okay.
coming out of anyone's budget, so they've had sponsors from
So
the
it's-
sheriff department.
So
and
it's not
sponsors-
free, so it's $1,500.
Well, the
This-
$1,500 would actually finish the
Well,
camp
that's
out
a
this
good
week,
point.
yes.
That ain't
Right.
free.
Yes.
Well, that's true.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
Well, the
what-
parents said they didn't have to pay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was free, but this week is gonna cost.
Well, this because they're the sponsors, you know, they just want, they want to be able to have money.
Is there
from
a, we make that motion, I'll ask you the question, but is there and I'm gonna find out from the National League of Cities, does the State League of Cities have a requirement or a guideline for the youth councils, what they do and how they do it? Is the
Yes.
League of Cities have that?
The Florida League of Cities has
I'd like
youth
to get it. I'd like us
councils.
to have a copy of it,
They have
Yeah,
youth
okay.
councils. I don't know, I'm sorry, I know I'm in the board, but
see what they're doing in the other
It's-
councils.
you've been
Oh,
involved.
yeah,
with-
I have information about what they're doing.
Yeah, I like to see
Yeah.
what the state requires or the national.
Well,
requires.
there's no requirement, but they have a layout for us to how we run our camps and, how we run our council.
But I mean, is it like to learn things of what happens in the city as politics or as government operations?
No, they do a little bit of, everybody does a little bit different.
Well, that's what I want
But
to see.
but the government and political side, yes, that's
Yeah.
that's definitely in there.
Yeah, because I thought that's what it was.
The Florida League of Cities, when we actually first approved this program, sent out a welcome aboard package to us. There was an email with a long list of information about Florida League of Cities and how they work with their youth groups and their youth programs. And what I read in that particular welcome aboard, the different cities cover a gamut of different educational components with the kids, from civics to math to community projects, all kind of, they do flight, they do drone training, they have kids doing biology, all kind of different things. So there's a long list of things that these youth groups encompass throughout the state of Florida.
What I'd like to do, Melanie, would you see if you can find out and have a copy for us?
Sure, the
Yeah, I
guidelines that the Florida League.
Central Florida, the state league.
Florida League of Cities.
I-
Florida League of Cities.
I have.
That's our
I have
state.
it.
Yeah, we have it.
Yeah, state.
You already
Are
have
they,
that, okay.
Yeah.
Melanie, get us a copy.
Mel-
Dorcas,
All right.
are they
Somebody
planning
needs to make a
something?
motion or a consent before we be here all
Okay.
night.
Can we do a consensus?
Yes.
I'm fine.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. All right. Consensus, yes.
Okay, I love it.
All
You're
right.
gonna wait till you see the pictures, maybe at the next meeting.
All
So
right.
are we gonna be allowed to, Rusty, give me one chance. Are we gonna be able, to
I
do
give you more than 3 minutes.
I know, but are we gonna be able to have the kids come and talk at least 5 minutes at maybe your next meeting, your
Yeah,
August
just
meeting?
Apply through Melody and we'll put it on the
Okay. Agenda, yeah, because we wanna do
Yeah,
that.
Well,
okay.
You realize things may change between
Yeah,
the
we'll
next
put it
meeting.
on
I know, but at least,
We'll
yeah.
put it on the agenda.
Okay,
Okay.
no problem.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank
All right.
you,
Like your mask.
thank you.
All right. That's all the people. So let's go to commissioners. Commissioner first.
Lakeshore Center grand reopening is tentatively scheduled for August 25th. Best Fest is tentatively scheduled for October 8th. And most important, National Hockey League will be resuming activities on August 1st.
Okay. That's hockey in Canada, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Just a quick comment on Best Fest. It's probably going to be pushed into the spring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Commissioner Oliver.
Okay, just a couple items. We're getting ready to start hurricane season. So, again, there's a lot of information out there on hurricane preparedness. The county has provided some great pamphlets. I believe you can actually get those pamphlets here at City Hall. I have some. I've been distributed out a few throughout my district, but it is important that we're dealing with Corona right now. We're dealing with the COVID-19, and God forbid a hurricane comes and we're not prepared. So keep that in the back of your mind that we must be prepared for hurricane season. Next item I have is that we all here as elected officials, we fight for our citizens, we fight for our city, and we fight to make sure that we have a standard of living that we all can be proud of. We make sure that they're taken care of, whether it's going to be a tree branch hanging over in their yard or busted up sidewalk. We actually come together to make sure that we take care of our citizens. Where it be a group of citizens, but we also have responsibility to the one or two that still lives a nightmare. And I'm talking about the Romano family that is still dealing with Lennar homes. And again, they're a family that's dealing with some hardships as well as a nightmare when it comes to dealing with Lennar homes. And I just want to say that if we ever have the opportunity to send a message to Lennar homes that we have to protect our citizens when it comes to developing in our city, I pray that we will stand up for people like the Romanos to make sure that they don't have to live these nightmares that they're living right now. So they're still in the midst of this thing, and I'm hoping and praying that it will be a amicable outcome to their situation with the Romanos. Also, one other thing I wanted to mention, well, one thing about, we talked about the hollow ground at African American Cemetery at one of our last meetings, and we talked about setting up some type of memorial or reflective park in that particular plot of land. And we mentioned that there was an appraisal done on that land, and I just want to see if I can possibly get a copy of that appraisal, if possible.
Yeah, I'll send it to you.
Okay, thank you so much. And then finally, there's a kudos to the staff, and a special thanks to Mr. Al Butler, as well as Al Butler, our Director of Support Services. Also, Rob Frank, our City Manager, for helping one of our citizens to change her address. It's final. I got pictures. They put the new numbers up there. So she did send a letter, an email, thanking you guys personally for making that happen. That's all I got.
All right, Commissioner Branston.
Yeah, we serve with passion up here when we confer. Oftentimes that leads to spirited discourse. However, I don't think that should allow us or should make us, give us license to descend into debauchery, if you will, and be disrespectful to the city staff, to the commission, or our visitors. So I think we as members of the commission and the city staff got to be mindful that others are looking at us, but also, even though we're passionate and we're going to serve our community, with that same passion, I would recommend we don't lose that passion. But in the same token, we have to be mindful that we are setting an example. But I am a spirited guy, but I try not to be up here, but I can be. The other thing is, let's not lose that passion for our service and the change that we're trying to do in Ocoee. Ocoee is well on its way to be the ideal city, not just in Florida, but in the nation, because we have everything we need, especially the location. Some people in the northern states in the wintertime wish they were here, but they're not. COVID-19, it is here. It is. I encourage every last one of our citizens, residents, visitors to be mindful of that. Wearing masks is a wonderful thing. Redundancy is good. Redundancy is good. I think I said that twice, because it's good. August 18th is Election Day. We got to be mindful of Election Day. We got to be mindful of Election Day. It is coming. Hurricane preparedness, as Commissioner Oliver just said, is important. So we have to be ready for the hurricane. There's still a lot of people out there who are not working or gone back to work. we have to be mindful of them as well. Last thing is really for the city attorney, if I can also get a copy of that appraisal. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, me. I believe in wearing masks also. Just want our residents to know that tonight we did vote on the dates for our hearings and our workshops for the budget. This is your budget. This is, we always want you to remember when you get your trim bill that the line that we're concerned with as we sit here is the line that is regarding the city of Ocoee's taxes, the tax rate. On that trim bill is many opportunities for you to visit or to find out what other entities are charging regarding the tax rate. There's many more from the library to St. John's Water Management to Orange County. And this is your budget. And so we appreciate your input on that. And the budget will be available on ocoee.org, am I correct, Rob? Before the budget hearings and before the budget workshops. So please read that, become involved, and contact your commissioners if you have any questions. Thank you.
Well, I was going to not say anything, but I am going to say something, because I do take a point of interest when people send out a lot of things that are negative, and then they come and say things that try to make out like they didn't say it's negative. So I will say that to me is a problem. When I get a letter, and I will tell you in public record, and I'm going to tell you, I have a record, a letter that's sent to me by one of these foundation people about my wife's grandfather, my wife's father, my wife, and then being I'm married to my wife, I'm a racist. So that's the letters that we're getting. So folks, don't sit and tell me not to say anything when I've sat over 34 years working for this city, elected by all citizens, no matter what color, no matter what part of town they live in. But I and you and you and you and you sit up here, you're supposed to answer to all citizens. And that's why you get elected. And there will be people running again come March, next March, and that's fine, but that's part of the political system. But I will tell you, this city has moved and put tremendous effort into overcoming its past over years, and we have been on our way to harmonious city long before other people showed up in the last couple of years to say that. This city has worked, and I know when Lester Dabbs was mayor, he caught a lot of flack, even when he was a commissioner, because he was trying to do the diversity. He worked towards diversity in the city way before anybody else wanted to. Even when I was in high school, he was in an effort to try to do that. So I think everybody needs to realize sometimes when we sit here, people are putting stuff out. Somebody put out, I won't even put her name, she put out on Facebook that we had already made our vote, the commissioners, and voted no on the issue tonight. We'd already put the vote out. This is the kind of stuff that causes the unharmonious ways we do here. Let's all try to work. And then the unity is what everybody keeps saying, unity. Well, let's be unity where we all work to do the things for the city that means what's best for this city, that we all are working for that. No matter how I am and what I say, when you put to a point about making references to people's family, then I got a problem with it. You wouldn't want it to your family, and I don't want it to my family. My father-in-law was the man that owned a drugstore in this town when nobody had money. He gave them free medicine. There's records, I got the records where he delivered free medicine to families. And then somebody's got the gall to write and say that, you know, he's a racist because his grandfather was a constable. Well, that's the kind of stuff I don't want to hear. I want us all to work together. I think our diversity board is great. We got one of the only one in the Tri-County area. And I'm proud to say that they do a good job, and they're working towards what's best for the city. And you're right about not having a lot of different things, but they will work towards putting on a great function. And we do need to look at the budget, because come the budget process, we need to put some money in. They have got a person they're trying to get to come that's going to cost a little money, so we'll have to think about that. And I'm going to try to help them raise some money. But I want everybody to know that we all got to work together, but it all has, and even in one of the emails that said about the difference of who voted and who didn't vote, it's all about voting the way you feel, and then after you don't win it, or you do win, or you don't win, move on with it and get on with it. So that way we can all work together. I'm gonna be here for 2.5 more years unless the good Lord changes his mind. And I'm gonna keep working for the city of Ocoee and the citizens of this town. I have 2 emails here that one will give you to put in public record about the changing of the street name. I'm gonna put it in public record. Then we'll have them at the August 4th meeting. We'll deal with that if it has to come up. And their petitions, if we do petitions, they need to be Ocoee people. And that's part of it. It's our address change, our people. So that'll be coming out too. But there's 2 here from citizens already. So I'll give them to you, Melody, and you put them in the public record. All right. It's been a long night.
Here, here. Here, here.